fancy, fancy.
That's what silence means. Don't talk. Like, you meant to let the thing happen and then don't talk over the thing. Christ on a bike. Hello, welcome. Oh, I've done the wrong. Welcome to the Honest Wargamer. I'm your host, Rob, and welcome to Monday. We're talking Age of Sigmar. In the house is Mr. Nathan Prescott.
Hello, hello.
Hello, hello. And of course, well, not of course, but from across the pond is Mr. Jonathan Etland. Hi, John.
Hello.
For fuck's sake, I tried so hard to make this quiet in the room, and then you were like, "Ooh, this is fancy." Are you one of those people that drives places and then you just say what you see? Oh, a road. Oh, a sign.
I wasn't prepared. It would be so beautiful, man.
Okay. Oh, bloody hell! I need to do a bit of a cut. Right. Okay. Look, we're in the house. Welcome to Monday's show, Nathan. How you doing?
Great, thank you. How are you?
I'm wonderful. Thanks very much, Jonathan. How are you?
I'm very good.
Good. Twitch chat, how are you? Are you guys well? I hope you're well. And if you listen to the podcast, thanks very much for listening to the podcast. We really appreciate that.
Yeah, cheers.
If you're watching back on YouTube at a later date, also massive thank you to you guys on YouTube. Please leave some comments, like and subscribe. And there you go. We're all good, if that's okay with everyone. Right, okay. Oh no, what's happening? Everyone's all right. I've matched my avatar perfectly today. Look at this. I've dressed identically. Okay, so it's really.
What am I supposed to do?
Well, look, I'm super happy to be back in the studio on a Monday. I was already back here on Thursday, but obviously me and Nathan were in Chicago last week for Adepticon.
Oh,
Yeah, do you remember?
Vaguely.
All that? I know. More on that later. And of course, it's lovely to have you in the house, Jonathan. Thanks very much for being here.
Thanks for having me, man.
It's my pleasure. So, really exciting day today. We've seen the announcement of the Fireslayers Battletome, so we're going to talk about that a little bit. Yeah, that's exciting. We're going to talk about our games at Adepticon and how they went.
Yeah, cool.
You up for that?
Yeah.
And then we're going to quickly do like a bit of it. You two are going to talk Gloomspite Gits a little bit. We're going to talk about event wrap up from the weekend. There was lots of tournaments on, especially over Australia way, and we'll talk about some of the people that won those. Herylicious, thanks for subscribing for 8 months in a row, and then that'll be us done for the day. Cool. Is that okay with you guys?
Yeah.
Okay,
sounds perfect.
All right, but before we get into anything else, I just want to say hello to everyone in Twitch chat. Mr. Mephisto, who you played.
I did. Hello, sir.
Tomb King Tristan, one of our mods. I think I saw Hook and Pin in here as well. LLV, the stats man himself. Dan Unsupervised, our show host. Dan, I've got a new little intro video for you later. I'll send that. It's already on the Google Drive, so that's fine. Angle, I hope you well. Matt Pashby, who's a really good-looking fella. But him and Joe Cryer have now got the same haircut.
Okay.
And you're just jealous, just like your daughter said. You can't have hair. Spleen Thief, On-Call GM, Heinrad Scrivo. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the show. I hope you guys are good. You should mention that Twitter Savages for making me. And also, LLV is going to go to Bobo. He's put a Twitter poll up, and they've all decided that he has to play Dispossessed at Bobo. So that's going to be exciting. Jonathan, how do you feel about that?
Well, he has the chance to become the best Dispossessed player in the UK. That's how I did it.
By playing one time.
Yeah, I played him at Slaughter.
So, listen, now I'm not one to be super excited about this, but have you guys seen that on Warhammer TV this week, specifically Warhammer Live, on Wednesday, this is the first piece of news coming out of Games Workshop, they've got an hour dedicated to the Dwardian of the Mortal Realms.
Cool.
Who else is going to be in that? Are you going to get into that? Are you going to watch it? You'll be at work.
When is it? Wednesday.
No.
No.
Wednesday about 4:00. Yeah?
No.
Seems like an inappropriate time to do something. It's okay. You'll be able to listen to it back on their podcast.
Cool.
You won't. That's a lie. It's gone forever. So sorry. But I'm going to watch it because I'm going to keep asking what's happening with the Chaos Dwarves, right?
They're not Dwarden.
They are Dwarden. That's going to be my decision.
Dwarden keyword.
They've got some sort of keyword. All right. Well,
they've got a keyword, but then so have elves, and they are definitely not Dwarden either. They're in the same boat as those chaos things.
They are very evil. Yeah, maximum evil. Spleen Thief, thanks for subscribing for 8 months in a row. So Rob, John P1982, Rob, I was in Nottingham at the weekend. How many copies of yourself are there? I was seeing a band play, and I'm sure you were there. Oh fuck, fuck. Wait, wait to have it. Anyway, way to have someone insult you like straight out of the bat. That was funny. All right, so I'm going to be tuning in for that because I'm actually quite excited. If they just repeat the same things.
Apparently, I've got no sound.
Pardon me?
Somebody says I've got no sound.
You do have sound.
Hello?
Yeah.
Hello?
Yeah. There you go. Daisy Dog Dukes, thanks very much for subscribing. Lone Wolf, hi there. I'm new to AOS and have some questions. No, the Twitch chat can answer that. You should be able to hear me. Really simple.
Just turn up your volume on me.
Just ignore them. They're just trolling you. They're just trolling you. And also, Uncle GM says, "Oh, an ASMR stream from Nathan." Nathan says, "If you just talk gently into the microphone and say, for the podcast listeners, this is about
ASMR.
Yeah, you get ready. Hello. Do that. Say, Dwarden are the best.
Dwarden are the best. Weirdos.
Right, first off, before we get on to the actual news of the fire sales, Jonathan, how are you and how's Warhammer been for you?
I am great. Warhammer's been very busy. Very busy. I've been occupied.
What's been happening?
Gits, man. Gits happening. Painting Gits, playing Gits, trying to figure them out. Getting there. Yep. Was a tournament this weekend. It was. Regular playing days.
Was it a 2 day or 1 day?
It was a 1 day. 1 day with around 30 people, I think. So the scene is growing as well. Just
cool.
Great. Yeah, man. It's good. I didn't perform that well, though. I lost 2 games out of 3.
It was a learning day then.
Yeah. I took the squigs out for a ride and
you put your helmet on and went to school.
Yeah, exactly. But it's like it's a weird one with the kids. I feel like every game is a game. I don't know if you can agree. Who wants to play?
Explain that to me.
So in every matchup, I feel like I can win. In every matchup, I feel I can lose. So it's like even if you have your daughters or whatever, I can still beat you. Yeah. You could also beat me. There's no game I feel like, oh fuck this, I don't have a chance. And there's no game I feel like, oh fuck, this is easy. I'm just gonna do
running
this
away with it.
Me and Nathan played a game on Wednesday, and his Gits beat me in basically the first turn.
Well, I haven't played you yet, so
but I was trying a new Chaos Dwarf list. It was one of those really silly reactionary lists. Like obviously I was at Adepticon, and the only 2 games I lost were against Flesh Eater Court. So I'm trying to like work out how to fix Flesh Eater Courts for myself with my army list. And because I had the same, as we'll talk about it later, but I had the same 2 solutions to that army, and they fucked up both times. So I'm like, no, I don't have the tools in my army to deal with them, so I'm now looking for the tools. And one of the Flesh Eater Courts players suggested a particular unit, and then that was like a unit which I've disparaged to Nathan particularly. So the magma cannons, I've constantly said suck. So I was like, no, I'll put 4 in my list. Yeah, and then unsurprisingly, they are actually rubbish. So I've decided to move away from those as well. But anyway, yeah. So you beat me in basically the first turn because I was playing 500 points down. That's how it felt. Anyway, I don't know if was your experience.
Yeah. I beat you.
Yeah, you did beat me. Yes, congratulations.
The thing is with the Gits that you have all these crucial roles. So it's like there's nothing you can do like automatically. You have to use a role for it, and like all those roles are important. So like what I try to do now is just include as many of those roles as possible in my list, so at least some of them goes through.
Yeah. You need more whatnot roles, don't you?
What's a whatnot role?
Gobblepalooza. I know what's role. That's what's called.
I know what's role. Okay. Yes. Oh, okay. Cool. So Warhammer's been good for you, and you've been enjoying playing with your Goonfight Gits, John.
100%. It's a great army.
Okay, good. All right. You sound like you're on a typewriter there talking to us, but I'm sure that's probably our problem, our end, not your end. Nathan,
Hello.
have you done any Warhammer this week, and how's it gone?
Yeah, I'll beat you.
That's so true, and yes, that did happen.
Yeah. I'll put a little bit more paint on my sneaky snufflers, as you do.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's about it. I've not really had much time to do much else, really.
Mm-hmm. Okay, good. Mr. Mephisto saying in the chat, see, I just chose to roll above average at times and it makes me good at the game. But didn't you beat Mr. Mephisto at Adepticon?
Yeah, that was like a friendly game beforehand.
Still a win,
Yeah.
though, right?
Oh, yeah.
We were playing a friendly game on Wednesday, weren't we?
Were we? Yeah, always. All my games are friendly games, really.
Okay. Good.
Yeah. No, that was a fun game against Nagash.
Yeah. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah.
So we've actually already covered that in a podcast we recorded in the airport with Mr. Rick Myhill. Airport with Mr. Rick Myhill. So that's already sorted and done. And then it will be added to this show as a kind of giant show. And also there were some cool interviews I did at Adepticon as well, and I'm going to interlace them into one giant podcast. Because also, if you want to listen to 2 hours, Warhammer Wide, when I can make you listen to like 4.5 hours of stuff. 7 hours. One giant long show. Yeah, okay. For me this week, Nath, thanks for asking. I was super ill at the weekend. I got the famous Adepticon crud, or the con crud. So I felt quite ill this weekend. So I've just been trying not to sneeze everywhere after a pretty epic sneeze I did on the Thursday show, which some of the Twitch people were kind enough to clip and put on the internet.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Good.
Bunch of dicks. But yeah, generally, I played a game against you, and that's about it. Got beaten, yes, thank you very much so much. But then I've been doing some other stuff in the background, which has been fun. Okay, on to the news. You happy with that?
Yeah.
Yeah, has anyone got any questions before we move on? No, you guys.
Oh, me.
Or Twitch chat, I guess, as well, but you specifically, Nath. Any questions?
So, what do you think, then, what's going to replace your magma cannons then? You got any
Iron
ideas?
Demons.
Iron Demons. Then.
Iron Demons. 180 points are the Iron Demons. For 46
Are they
shots.
that cheap?
Yeah, 180 points. I mean, are they that cheap? Shush. Like, that's 60 that's 60 points more expensive than a Grey Seer, 60 points cheaper than a Vermilord, and only 2. I can get 2 Iron Demons for 1 Ghoul King on Terrorgeist. That's not the same. That's not the same thing. Like, I would, if in the new things are too cheap environment, I want them to be 100 points. Is how cheap they should be.
Oh, okay.
But we can't have it like that, man. We need the bad guys.
We
need the bad guys.
You need the bad guys. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm going to go for 4 Iron Demons. I think is because 180 points each, 46 shots, hitting on 4s, but win on 3s, rend 2 and 1 damage. So they're kind of like Stormcast Ballistas. They move 10, shoot 14, so 24-inch effective range. I reckon I can down like a Ghoul King in a go, but then I can also down a Horde in a go. Like it's quite versatile. 11 wins with a 3-up save each. It's quite, and I want to move away from using the Corruptor with the Vortex because it's just super unengaging for my opponent. Like it's just really dull. Like for me and for them, I don't feel like I'm winning the game. I feel like I'm just rolling. I'm just like, oh, I've rolled an 8. You're fucked, and that's it. Like, have you played against it?
I have, yeah. I've played against it once. So only the once, so it was interesting finding out what it did that one time.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously now I know what it does.
And how do you feel about it now?
I can play differently when I face up against it.
Yeah?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's pretty much a bummer if they get it off. Especially with all the little characters that the Gloomspite rely on. So
yeah, kind of forces you into certain builds, like
Yeah.
your hero department, like
Yeah.
the fungoids for the 4-up and stuff.
Yeah.
But I think you get to have some sort of answer to it with the Hand of Gork, so you can still get out
Yeah.
on the board decent numbers. But some people just don't have that. So.
Yeah. I think the Gits will be all right as long. Now that I'm aware, because when I played against it, I wasn't quite aware of the range of it, so I had a lot of my little heroes near the front line, and they absolutely got hammered by by it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I can just play the heroes deeper back, put the big blocks further forward. If they put their vortex on the big block, doesn't matter to me. I'll just hand a Gawk it into their face next turn. So yeah.
Yeah, I think it's support characters is the major issue, because effectively, if you get not even lucky, it's a half chance, right? You can do 2d3 mortal wounds to all support characters within 29 inches. So it's pretty close to them dead.
Yeah,
it's a croak for 100 points, basically.
It is a croak for 100 points. Yeah, and go on, John.
And you think like, well, I'll just dispel it. But if you dispel it, you get twice the amount of damage back again next turn. So it's like never worth dispelling either.
Yeah,
it's tough. But anyway, I don't want to put it in my list anymore. Effectively, I played a lovely man, and his face just drained of colour as it happened to him. He was like, "This sucks." And so I would like to. It's good though, because against the and also I don't think it necessarily deals with the Ghoul Kings, which was my major issue as well. No. That's why it was in the list. It doesn't do the job that I want it to do, so it's going to go out of the list basically, because it shuts them down, but it doesn't kill them. And you can't shut them down because they're a threat until they're dead. Long story short, in my opinion. That's how I feel. Okay, but yeah, 4 of them. That'll be fun. 4 tanks in a list. Tell me you don't want to play 4 tanks.
Sounds fun, yeah. Give it a whirl. See what happens.
I will. Thanks very much for asking. All right, okay, so would you like to talk about what has gone on, what we found out about the old Fire Slayers this weekend?
Yeah.
Are you guys, Twitch chat and Nathan and John, are you guys excited about the Fire Slayer release?
Yes.
John?
I've become kind of ambivalent. That's the word, the English.
You become ambivalent? Why?
Because feels a lot of times now it's hit and miss. But I'm quite intrigued about Fire Slayers to see if we will go back to the old Fire Slayers, where you just come up and you try to kill them for some turns and then they score.
Yeah.
Or if they turn into something different.
Okay, so what do you mean? What do you mean about the hit and miss nature of the battle tomes?
I think, well, that's not totally fair. All of the new battle tomes are great, and I think for the people playing them, it's really fun. And there are some things, like one or two things in the books that are like, shit, this is horrible. Like the Ghoul King on Terrorgeist, but I guess that's a point issue. As an example, you know.
So you just feel like you're worried because the Khorne book and the Gloomspite book, I don't think, and probably are not perceived to be as strong as both the Skaven and Ghoul King and a Flesh Eater Corpse book, right?
Yeah, so and the thing is, I think the books are well written, but I think the points are a bit off, and I think that's not as big of an issue as let's say stacking of certain abilities and stuff, but.
Yeah, I think Flesh Eater Corpse and Skaven books are terribly written. So we'll move on from that conversation because that could last all day.
Well, I agree with you at some point. Like at the Skaven one, I think it's way too. It's like Legion and Gash all over again, where you have the keyword death and everything works on death. There's like no incentive for you to play like a monofaction in Skaven because you can just take all of them without being punished and just take all the good bits, right? And that I think is a bit of a flaw. I think that is a flaw. And they're too cheap. At least
I think the Skaven book is probably not too badly written. It's just too cheap.
Oh come on! Like the nature of the maybe if you put up the Grey Seers and then you put up the Vortex, then maybe you're right. Actually, like if you would have,
I don't think the Vortex is that bad. Once now I've played against it, now you can play around it. It's when you put it in with the mask and that sort of stuff.
No, I think
probably on the Flesh Eater Courts one though, they could have stopped writing rules a little bit quicker,
a little bit earlier.
When they writing
the one war scroll.
Yeah, instead of putting all the war scrolls just into that one war scroll. But in general, I think the Skaven book's all right. I mean, it's quite cool because. What they've done is, so they've made it so that a mixed army is cool, and then obviously, but then if you want to take a pure pestilence or a pure scryer army, you can do it, but it'd be very themey because then you can't even ally in other Skaven units. So
But why would
So
you do
they've-
that? There's no
they've-
reason for you without just, I'm going to go
The
test
story,
it, but
John.
there's no, like,
The story is the reason.
Well, they've balanced it because then they've allowed the Master Clan to go across all the things, but only like having one of the Master Clan into all of it. So it's either one or the other. Which, I mean, they could have done both, but then I think that would have been too much. So I think they've gone with one or the other, and I think that's cool, personally.
Haven't mentioned
disagree.
Fire Slayers yet, though, have we? Yeah, none of us.
Right, but Fire Slayers are cool because I want the ones from Gur.
Yeah, the ones from Gur.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, so
Like Vidroths for days.
yeah, I having played with the Rat Trap, so the Skaven Vortex, I don't think it should be in the game at all. Realistically, it should be 250 points. So unengaging, so good. I can do it at such a range. I cast it the first one at 26 inches, then I add 7, then it affects something in 6. It's dumb. It's just so dumb. Like, if you're something slow as well, like movement 4 or Fire Slayers, babies, you're about to be movement 4. So now they can't run out of it. They just move in their movement 4. Like, it's just not good. Like, it's not good to use. It's not good to be used against. I don't think, like, I mean, as a gamer using it, you're like, sweet, this is working real well. But for your opponent, it must just be like, this fucking sucks. Like, and my game against the guys with Idnethiels, he had a terrible time. And so, you know, I don't know what to say other than I don't think that should be in the game for that reason. My opponent didn't enjoy themselves, not because of me, just because the mechanics, for nothing he could do to stop it. It's this: I roll 2 dice. Do I roll higher than you? Yes. You're about to have a really bad time. That's it. Like, I can't control it with movement. I can't control it with. I can't even control it with list building because there's very few things that have like the pluses to unbind. It's just death. And then artifacts or like Stormcast taking the I'm going to unbind your spell. Which, by the way, he had a spell weaver and then he auto-unbinded it on turn... Unbinded it? Unbound it? Thank you. On turn 1. And then in turn 2, I just cast it again and I just got it again. And then he was like, oh. And then it was the over. So it's just so unengaging. And so I've dropped it from my list. Whether or not that's a good choice competitively, I just don't want my opponents to have such a bad time. And therefore, I think it's a bad item because while its power is undeniable, its engagement is weak. And I think that's a rubbish way to play Warhammer, personally.
I agree, 100%. You should be able to play around it to some degree, right? Not just I'm gonna dispel higher than you, unbind higher than you, roll your cost, and the Skaven's cost is quite strong.
Okay.
Yeah. Fair enough.
All right. Well, but like, look, this is why we all have different opinions, right?
Yeah.
And that's why we do this show. So I'm well about that. Anyway, that's not what we were talking about. But FYI, and this happened with the stat show last week. And if you are listening, and I'm sure it's going to happen actually a lot as we talk over the next few months, I think it's going to be undeniable as a community, especially a gaming community, to get away from both the Flesh Eater Courts, Ghoul Kings on Terrorgeist, and their ability to attack more than once, and the raw output that they have, and get away from the Skaven, the sheer offensive power of a Skaven, not only shooting phase, but a magic phase. So we haven't even touched on their shooting phase. The Vortex is quite good because it makes everything else in their book look less bullshit, but a lot of the stuff in their book is pretty bullshit, right?
Yeah.
But like, I don't mean to keep bringing it up, but it's so, I don't know about you guys, but if you guys found a way in your army list building to counteract either the Skaven or the Flesh Eater Courts books, like, or do you feel like you have got some sort of like ways to go about it?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah. The Flesh Eater ones, the Skaven one is harder, I'd say. The Flesh Eater one's absolutely, but the Skaven one is, I don't know, man. That one, I mean, I could win, but I will more than likely lose if it's a decent player who's behind the steering wheel. Because casting is one of the big things with Moon Clan, and I think they're quite easy to shut it down. But sure, we can counter the Vortex, but the rest of the stuff, as you said, Rob, it's not just the Vortex. It's all the other stuff. It's at 40 Clan Rats for 200 points. It's the 40 Monks for 240 points. It's the Death Frenzy on the Monks. So, I mean, it's a powerhouse, and I think looking at the stats, and I think we will see that as well. The tournament I went to this weekend was won by Skaven.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a minute.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we'll get to that. Nathan, have you found a way, or do you feel comfortable with both of those books? The only reason I bring it up because I think it's going to be a conversation we keep saying, or like we're going to point to it.
Yeah, I think Flesh Eaters. Obviously, the Gits can handle them, so that's okay.
Both books.
The Flesh Eaters.
Oh right, sorry.
And then the Skaven.
I'm so sorry, buddy.
That's all right. Then, like Jonathan says, Skaven are definitely a tougher proposition. I think, like the normal builds that you see with the clan rats, I think the Gits can handle them because we can Gits outfight clan rats in the end of the day. But it's the pestilent ones that I'm probably a bit more worried about, because especially when they got Death Frenzy on them.
Yeah, because you punch them, they punch you.
Then they'll punch me back just as hard. So
yeah. That's actually. I mean, as a game mechanic though, I love that. I love the you die, I die. Well, I die. No, I kill you, you kill me. Because it makes engagements. It does promote more shooting in the game, but it makes the engagements like, or when you're going to trade unit for unit, or if you're going to trade unit for unit. Honestly, I kind of like it. But like, I don't know. At least it's something I can manage, because I can not hit you. Unless I have to hit you, and then that's an issue, right?
Yeah.
I agree. All right, good. Well, so I just wanted to bring. Well, you guys just naturally went to that conversation, apparently, when we haven't yet talked about Fire Slayers. But I think it's probably come up because it's going to constantly be something that's at the forefront of everyone's mind when it comes to gaming, especially with the ease of building a Flesh Eater Course army, and not the ease, I would say, so much of the Skaven. But Skaven's still, I think, probably scarier. And as people get better with Skaven, they're going to be worse and harder to play.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so like you're saying with the you die, I die thing, so it's sacrificing units to take out their units. So with the Flesh Eater Courts, you can, a lot of books can now sacrifice a unit to kill that ghoul. But then, obviously, that unit will then die in its death attacks. But the problem with the Skaven ones is when you do that and you send the unit in to die, it'll take them out. But normally the unit that you send in to die is more expensive than what they're killing. So that's the problem there. Whereas with the Flesh Eater Courts, you can probably send a cheaper unit in to kill the dude. And fair enough, that's a fair trade, But fair in your way, but you've played for that trade.
Yeah,
where it's really hard to do that against the particularly the plague monks.
Yeah, very hard because they're very cheap.
Yeah.
Go on, John. You going to say something?
I mean, yeah, sure. You can interact with the plague monks. The problem is that they have 2 units of 40, and 2 units of 40 clan rats, or 3 units of 40 monks.
And they're immune to battle shock. That's
and I mean, looking at the list this weekend, it was like, okay, they're playing with 3,000 points of Gits.
That's what it feels like. It's just the points on the Skaven. I think the book is quite fun, but it's the points are maybe a little bit on the, definitely on the cheap side. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So, hello, Magic Myers. So, Fire Slayers.
Yeah.
Are we excited about Fire Slayers?
The Pizza Boys.
Jonathan, I did ask you, and then we went somewhere else. Are you excited about Fire Slayers?
Yeah, I am. Yeah. I mean, obviously, I'm not a big fan of them in their current state. So, absolutely, bring them on and make them more interesting is my hope than they currently are.
Nathan?
Yeah, definitely interested in. I think it's the Lodge. The Lothi Lodge or something like that.
Yeah, we're going to read it out. Yeah, we'll go through it. LOV's in the chat, so he might. If you go on the honest-wargamer.com, you can check out the stats. Specifically, one of the most important ones is the meta percentage. So how often you see an army. Fire Slayer, ever since Age of Sigmar 2 came out, and Fire Slayers have been one of the most underrepresented armies in the game, right? So that's very impactful. I know for a fact Kenny Lull, a man with over 100 games of Fire Slayers over in the US, is beside himself with excitement. He was last seen just hammering small runes into buildings as he was on his way to work. Okay. But cheers, Scrivo. Maybe we can get that in the chat. Thank you very much. So you'll be able to see the percentage of them being. So it'd be nice seeing more of the Fire Slayers being played. I got 2 things to say about Fire Slayers. Number 1, I hate the range. I'm just going to say it because all of the models look the same. They're all tiny.
And they've got no shoes.
They got no shoes, which triggers me.
So you're hating gingers. You're saying that?
No, I'm not hating gingers because you can paint them non-ginger. I'm just saying, number one, they all look exactly the same. Someone's like, this is an Auric Runesmiter. I'm like, ooh. And he's like, and this is a Deathbringer. I'm like, they look the same. Identical, I would say, in every way, shape, or form.
I agree.
Nate, what do you think?
But I can. I mean, I can't talk shit about them because I have the red card. You know, I have a red beard.
You got a red beard.
Yeah.
Yeah, the heroes. Maybe if you don't paint the Hearthguard fancy enough, says Angle. Okay, fair enough. Maybe I haven't ever actually seen. So in AOS 1, there was a. Yeah, you got it. In AOS 1, there was a Fire Slayer build, which did particularly well. Andy Hughes was quite famous for using it. What he would do is just take 150 dwarves. He would just pop up on the first turn. He would just sit on objectives and he'd be like, I win the game, motherfucker. And he won like 2-3 tournaments in a row, basically, using that build. So it would be nice to see that they have a different mechanic in the game.
Yeah.
I, for one, don't care about seeing them on the tabletop because I think that they suck. Apart from if there were loads of Magma Droths that were cool.
Yeah.
Because that would look quite sweet, I think. Or if they were to go more elite. So it's weird that they're a horde army. I know dwarves traditionally like a horde army, but you're putting down as many dwarfs as you would put down goblins or grots, right? And that seems a bit like not the way it should be.
Yeah, should be lesser. Should be more elite.
It should be more elite, right?
Yeah.
So I'm hoping, hello Omega Havoc. I would say that it would be nice if they became more elite. But let's see what Warhammer Community's got to say about it, shall we? You guys ready?
Yeah.
So they've got the battle tome out, and they've announced the endless spells. If you guys are excited about that.
Magma Invocations or something?
Yes. So, Magmic Invocations. I like endless spells, but they're summoned by, get ready for this, Zargrim Priests. What do you think of that?
Cool.
New stuff. Sounds like a new thing.
Going to give the priest keyword to some, I think it's the Rune Smiters or the Rune Smiths.
Yeah.
Is what they've actually said in the next article. So those will
be Rune Master, maybe, and the Rune Smiter. Rune Smith is a dispossessed dude.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I mean,
Fucking
utterly different. I mean, they are based there.
You're all right, heading right for the Book of Grudges, my friend.
Straight into that book. I'm so sorry.
Fucking get your Rune Smiters and your Rune Smiths mixed up. You're in trouble.
Well, thankfully, I know the Chaos Dwarfs have got Rune Lords. No, we don't have Rune Lords.
Oh, my word. You're all right in the book now. Don't even bring those twats up, man.
Well, the Chaos Dwarves. Get ready when we talk about tournament results. You guys are going to be triggered. Each has a devastating impact on the game, and there is the Runic Firewall. Yeah.
Cool. Prismatic Palisades.
Prismatic Palisades. There is the Zargon Flame Spitter. Ooh. So a shooting attack potentially.
Nice. Yeah.
It'd be quite cool if you put that into your army. It's like a long range cannon.
Yeah, I'm quite interested in maybe allying in the occasional Rune Master into my dispossession.
So Nathan, if you guys are unaware, and I know John you are aware, Nathan has avoided like the plague putting in a Stormcast priest, wizard, so that he can use the endless spells from Stormcast. But now that you can bring a dwarf and some endless spells, are you into it?
Yeah, they're not endless spells, are they? They're Magmic Invocations.
They are, but they're not spells. Fine. Mr. Festo, thanks for hosting us, by the way.
I did. I had about three games with the Incanter.
Yeah. In your army?
Yeah, just felt wrong. So
felt wrong, so
he's out. Put some gyro bombers in.
Gyro bombers, that's better. I think Dan Unsupervised did exactly the same. Sinise says Rob doesn't have his own collector's edition Book of Grudges by now. Certainly, you can't dispel what isn't a spell. That's a really solid point. And then the final one, this is the one I'm most excited about, the Molten Infernoth.
Yeah, cool.
Which is basically a lava demon. Now, I'm going to get that and put that into my Chaos Dwarf army in some way, whether or not it's going to be some guy riding it.
Book of Grudges,
straight in. So that's what... and then, of course, the ridiculous... so the the Fire Slayer scenery piece. Yeah, the Magmic Battleforge. Nathan, people haven't heard the show where you guys have described this yet. What did you describe it as, John? I don't know if you've heard this yet.
No, I haven't.
It's a blowjob machine. It's got handles and an orifice.
However, the first time I heard this, Nathan and Rick Myhill came back drunk from the Games Workshop announcement at Adepticon, both screaming. They just both were screaming, "Hey, Fire Slayers have got a blowjob machine!" And I was like, "I haven't seen this yet. I don't know what that means." But everyone's saying it looks like a pizza oven. That's their opinion. It doesn't. No, it looks like a blowjob machine. Yeah. Okay.
Tell you what, though, and this is very rare for me, but I don't like the paint job on the Magmic shenanigans.
On the Magmic Battleforge or on the prayers?
The prayers.
Oh yeah, it does. It's quite hard to do, right? Like I've done. Do you know what I'm really impressed with? So I've obviously painted up 12 Kadai Fireborn before, which are basically flame demons, effectively. And while my paint job is obviously infinitely worse than the paint jobs on those pictures, it's not that much worse. Like normally, like I look at my model and I'm like, oh, it looks like a child has painted something on. And then I look at obviously a Games Workshop like heavy metal paint job, and you're like, wow, that's impressive. But these do look like someone's just airbrushed a couple of colours and then dry brushed black on it, and I feel chuffed with that. I'm like, oh yeah, my fire guys don't look as bad as those guys. So yeah, I agree with you, John. I think is it quite hard to do? Painters in the chat, Nathan, John, have you guys tried to do magma before? And have you found it quite hard?
I haven't tried it, but I think it's quite hard to get it right, because in the end you have to do all those source lightning things to get it look really good. I mean, they have done a pretty good job on the beasts, but if you look at the spit and the wall, it's like, not impressed with those two. But the beast is kind of cool. But that one as well, I don't think it's up to their standard that they are capable to.
Well, Chatmandu in the chat says, it seems like some of the spells are being painted by the work experience guy.
Wow.
Bless him. I mean, everyone's got to start somewhere, right? So let's give them an opportunity.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
But and also, I want them to keep doing pretty average paint jobs, so it makes me feel like a better painter. I'm like, oh wow, my painting's really come up. Banana Timmy is not a fan of it. Chatmandu says that he thinks that the Beastie Cow spells weren't painted particularly well at all. And Hookerpin says, I love the look of the pizza oven, but thanks, Nathan, now I see a new version of a bloody flashlight. Yeah, a firelight.
Flashlight.
Haley Bromley, hope you're good. Thank you everyone for joining us in the chat, as always. Okay. Next up, we're going to hear some actual facts. Are you ready to do some discussion of some facts?
Do it. Hit us with facts.
So you've got the Rune of Farsight. So apparently, if you guys have got the old Allegiance abilities, so Fire Slayers as a battle tome was released before Allegiance abilities were ever in battle tomes, if you guys can ever remember back to those days.
I don't know what you're insinuating.
Yeah, so then in the General's Handbook, that's when Allegiance abilities were put into effect. And then Fire Slayers got one, and you had the capacity to have runes, and you could smite the runes. You basically picked a rune each round, right? And sometimes if you rolled a dice and it went off on a 6, it became even more powerful as a rune.
Empowered, yeah.
Yeah, empowered. So this seems like you're going to have 6 to pick from, and you'll be able to pick through, like, every turn you'll pick a new one, which is cool. Gives you a nice tactical element. I like that. The Rune of Farsight, +1 to hit rolls for attacks made with your throwing axes. Now, throwing axes at one point caused a bit of an issue because you could throw them like 47 inches from the back of a unit from the front of the unit.
No, those are the throwing shields.
The throwing shields.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. But then you could also throw axes as well.
Yeah, but only 8 inches, I think.
Okay, all right, nice. But you get +1 to hit rolls for attacks made with fire seals, and then if you get the enhanced effect, +1 to wound. So it's probably going to be 4s and 4s after that instead of 5s and 5s.
So yeah, it used to be 4s and 4s. So now there is a war scroll that's come up, and it shows it as 5s and 5s. So
it's going to be 4s and 4s.
So it's going to count.
I didn't see that war scroll. What chat are you in where you get that info?
It's on the community site.
Oh, is it? Okay. All right. So apparently in the lore they're meant to be really tough. What save did Flyer Slayers used to have?
With the shield, the 4-up.
Yeah, with a shield they got a 4-up, so 5-up normally.
5 on really tough. Okay. Anyway, so some special rules we've learned about Berserk Fury. Once per battle at the start of the combat phase, you can choose to unleash this unit's Berserk Fury. If you do so, till the end of the phase, if a model from this unit is slain before the model is removed from play, that model can make a pile-in move and then attack. So they've effectively got Death Frenzy.
Yeah.
So the ability to. Are you guys happy about that? What do you think?
Well, yeah, it's good for them. That's quite themey for Slayers, really.
It is.
But
yeah.
going back to the toughness thing, isn't that because now they've given them all 2 wounds?
Oh, because well, I haven't seen that, or I didn't read that today. Is that?
I thought that was in the thing where they were talking about how tough they are.
Okay, maybe I missed that. I should have taken copious notes. Instead, I just read it and thought I remembered everything.
Yeah.
So that teaches me write notes instead.
Have you seen that, Jonathan? They got 2 wounds each now.
So they are going to be more elite.
They're going to be
or are they
tougher,
going to be more like?
Or else they're just going to be like
hordes.
bone splitters.
Oh my god.
The dwarf splitters.
Oh no! If you guys, hi Oscar Lars in the chat. What a gorgeous man!
No, so that that does indicate that they're going to be more elite. You're going to have less bodies, aren't you? If they're going to be 2 wounds each.
Yeah,
which is good.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
so problematically, the problem with Fire Slayers before, as in a bit like with the Flesh Eat Hawk's problem, not in things are broken, as in if you had to play against them. The issue is what the way that they used to be built, and it's been a while. So if anyone's even remotely new to the hobby, they might not have seen this. What you would do is you would pop 150 dwarfs, and most of them would have 4-up saves that re-rolled with another 4-up ward save, which would be re-rollable. So they're effectively like indestructible. And they would just stand there, and they were all immune to battle shock, and it was crazy. And then slowly through FAQs and other stuff, they got chipped down, and some of those abilities got like reduced into like wholly within and a bunch of other stuff. So that was the issue. Now the concept that might even half happen, but everything's got 2 wounds is nightmarish. 100 dwarves with 2 wounds each.
Well, you'd expect there'd be half the number of dwarves on the.
You would expect, Nathan.
Yeah, but
I'm not sure, because before you had that 4-up ward save when there were many, and this is effectively the same thing, but it's static, right?
Yeah, it doesn't reduce, and I think that it does look like the 4-up ward saves disappeared on the main unit, the Volkite Berserkers. So. Yeah.
Okay. But again, this is just stuff we're reading so far. So we're just having fun with it.
Yeah.
Molten rock bolts. I like this a lot. The Uruk Hearthguard. So you can identify those as looking exactly like the other dwarfs.
No, they've got guns.
They look exactly the same.
So racist.
You're a racist. You used racist swords against me the other day.
Exactly.
Yeah. If anyone's not sure, the Quicksilver swords from the Endless Spells, Nathan has nicknamed the racist swords because they do extra damage to chaos. And by the way, it's the funniest fucking thing I've ever experienced. You go, the racist swords? Oh. And then they were so racist against me because they do damage. You roll 12 dice and every 6 is a mortal wound.
Yeah. Against chaos, it's every 5 up.
Against chaos, it's 5s. Nathan rolled 12 dice and rolled 9 5-ups.
Killed 3 Kadai. Dead.
But also watching a South African who is a veteran of the Boer Wars shout, "These are my racist swords" at me is really funny, and you guys should. I encourage you guys to do that at home. Anyway, the Magma Pipe bolts add 1 to the damage characteristic for attacks made by them against monsters, which I'm really excited about. In addition, FYI, again from a game designer's perspective, I think every single rule that starts with "in addition," stop reading. That's my opinion. Nathan, thoughts?
Fair enough.
I think they shouldn't write it. I think if they write something, they go, +1 damage against monsters. They should then go, no, I'm going to take a small break here. I'm going to go back, I'm going to have a Snickers, I'm going to think about it. But in addition, if any wounds are inflicted on a monster by a Magma Pipe missile, roll a dice on a 4+ until the end of that unit's next turn, halve the unit's move characteristic and subtract 1 from hit rolls for attacks made by that monster. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, the problem with things like that is when it happens on a 4-up, it becomes harder for them to point it up.
Just take loads of units, man. Just don't take that big blob like you used to. Take loads of them and just roll loads of 4-ups.
No, it just says if you... suffer.
Okay,
if any wounds are inflicted on a monster by magma pipe missile weapons.
Okay.
So you only get one opportunity to roll it per turn.
Yeah.
So initially I read that and I was like, yes! I can't wait. Half movement on Flesh Eater Corpse monsters, that's really exciting. Especially 2 damage. 2 damage is better, to be honest. Like, the in addition things...
2 damage, they'll be dead anyway.
It should be dead.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. If it's half move, it doesn't matter because it'd be dead.
Well, that's key, and I agree with that statement, absolutely. But I would also argue that if it's within range to be fired by the magma pipe missiles,
which are range 16.
Yeah, and they move
15
4,
or something like that.
So they're not very far. Well, we'll see what they are in the new book. Yeah. They're already close enough to my army that even if I take them from movement 14 to movement 7, seeing as I'm movement 4, well, they're movement 4 Fire Slayers, I think it's a pretty the -1 to hit's nice.
Yeah,
don't get me wrong. But yeah, anyway. Initially, I was like, yes, and I was like, oh, no, just the +1 damage is fine. That's quite cool. Yeah, I also like the idea that they hunt monsters. That's fun.
I think it's a bit interesting that they use the monster keyword instead of the behemoth keyword. So those Skaven chariots and the Daughters of Cain chariots don't actually care about this.
Because it's monsters.
Yeah.
That's fine. And Eloise says subtracting 1 from a G-Cot's attacks should be good, right, Rob? You would think, but nope. It's not in my personal experience. Right, Zragrim Blessings. Are you excited about this?
Yeah.
So you've got a bunch of different stuff. So these are prayers. So it says you've got like 2 pages of command traits, 4 pages of artifacts. So 4 tables of artifacts. That's going to be quite a lot of stuff to pick from. And then also 6 prayers. You can roll up one on a 3+. Then you pick a friendly hero that is not mounted on a magma droth and within 3 inches of an enemy unit, and within 12 inches of this priest, you can make a piling move with that hero, then attack with a melee weapon. And what's really cool is if you are playing with Fire Slayers, you can just pick any dwarf on the battlefield and just pretend that it's a hero.
They're all heroes.
No one will disbelieve you.
They're all heroes in my eyes.
They're all the chosen ones. You leave them alone just because they're short.
But so they have to be within 3 inches of an enemy to
so
be able to
they're already in combat.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not terrible, right? Yeah, okay, but it's not really impactful. I don't think it will just come up. And it's like you got Prayer of Ash. It started friendly praise, player phase. Basically, you roll a dice on a 4+. The prayer is answered. You pick a friendly unit wholly within 18 inches of this priest, and you can add 1 to its save rolls until the next hero phase. So that's awesome.
Yeah, that's
an old school Mystic Shield.
Yeah.
That's really good. Prayer of Ash.
Yeah.
So those 2 wound Fire Slayer dwarfs now going to be tanky AF. Yeah? Their little naked feet and their nipples out. They're going to be like, hit me again!
Hit me with your rhythm stick.
Exactly. And then there's a bunch of things you can do. They've written some like extra stuff. Like you could take Blood of the Berserker and the Drake Slayer. Drake Slayer sounds like a cool artifact, actually. Once per battle in your shooting phase, instead of making an attack with the bearer's Fire Seal Throwing Axe, you can throw the Drake Slayer. Pick a monster within 8 inches of the bearer, and on a 6, the monster suffers 3d6 mortal wounds.
You gotta roll that 6.
You gotta roll that 6.
Skaven had the brass sword, man. It was just dead. That's potentially 3 damage.
Yeah, I mean, it would be 11 mortal wounds if you got it off once per battle. So all you got to do is play 6 games in a row, and you might get one. You also got to get within 8 inches of the monster. There's like a range of options, so not really that good.
You're never going to see that.
No, you're never going to see that. So we'll move on. We'll move on from all those, and we'll go on to the lodges, which is exciting. So they're getting chapter tactics, or temples, or enclaves, or what else have we had? Barracks, yeah. So they're getting their own form of a 40k style, because it originally started at 40k. Yes. Because previously it was ensconced inside battalions in the Silverleth book, but the first time we saw it put in for free was inside 40k. Yeah. Caradron Overlords was before.
Caradron.
No, you're right. First time we ever saw it was Caradron. So that was.
I think you had it in the 7th edition of 40k actually, and probably even before that. That you got chapter rules for playing like Ultramarines or.
Please stop making me seem silly on the internet.
Sorry, man. Sorry.
No, that's fine.
I mean, it was Caradron.
Well, it started somewhere, right? Oh, Decion, thanks for being here. It's his first time on Twitch. Spleen Thief says, it's AOS. Less armor means tankier. Look at Daughters of Cain. And that's a really solid point. Daughters of Cain being... It's also the same way that being more ill, Nurgle, makes you faster.
Rushing around. Oh, I've got to get to the loo. Let's get this done.
I imagine every fantasy player in the world like turns up to like play OS and they go, okay, disease things, they'll be slow then. No,
we've got to get this done. I've got place to go.
Naked people.
Doctors.
Yeah, naked. They'll be easy to kill. No. Fuck.
Yes. No. Right. Wrong.
Welcome to Opposite Land. Right, so some of the lodges that we've heard about is so there's the Greyfjord, but you don't want to hear about that, Nathan. You want to talk about the Lofnir.
Yeah.
Because the warrior lords of Lofnir hold great esteem for Volcatrix and her offspring, so the old fire drake. Each Magmadroth in the Lofnir army instead of only one can be given a Magmadroth trait.
So there's going to be a page of
traits
you can give to your mounts. So like the Stormcast can give to their dragons and things. Yeah.
I mean, the one that you'll all know is re-rolling the Maw attack on a Ghoul King on Terrorgeist.
Oh yeah, that one.
Yeah. In addition, you'll fight in the pitch battle. You can include one additional behemoth in your army, as long as every behemoth in your army is a Magmadroth, which is kind of cool because they don't have any other monsters.
Isn't it cool how you tend to be able to take the same trait on all the beasts?
Yes. So what you're saying is there will be one good trait, and they'll all have it.
Yep.
Yes, I agree. Which is a shame. They should take 5 different traits.
Really, you can take the same trait on more than one.
That's how you do it on the Terrorgeist, man. They all have the same trait.
They all have the reroll to hits.
That's rubbish.
Oh, thank you, Dominic Taverno, for subscribing. Appreciate that. They all have the same one. So. I think they should.
Maybe they're bred from the same family.
Yeah, like that's what I was thinking. Dogs. Yeah, like pugs.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were like.
But not dying.
You are, but not dying. Okay, so overall though, 2 wounds I didn't know about, so actually I'm just dealing with that news, even though I read the article today. Fucking idiot. So what do you guys think so far about Fyreslayers? Because the main issue with Fyreslayer book, as with Dispossessed non-book, Nathan, and also my Chaos Dwarf army, is mobility is a dwarfen issue. So Kharadron overcome that with their shooting, so they don't need to be overly mobile because they've got such a potentially large threat range.
Yeah, and they've got airships. And
they've got airships, that also really helps. But what do you... Grubda, thanks for subscribing. But what do you guys think about like a low movement tier army, realistically?
Well, I mean, so these guys are normally quite good because they can sort of overcome that a bit with their tunneling stuff, although that's more like a deployment, an ambushing type ability. Yeah. So once you are where you are, then you're pretty much stranded there.
I would have liked to have seen them have like Skaven warp holes as opposed to like the blowjob machine. Yeah. Sorry, the Magmic Forge.
The fleshlight of doom.
Of fire. But yeah, I would have enjoyed seeing that as opposed to, I think, just a forge, which sounds like it's going to work exactly like the Cornate like prayer temple, right? But anyway, sorry, you were saying.
Yeah, so you got that deployment thing, but yeah, I mean, obviously the fastest thing in their army is the Magmadroths. So if they can make the Magmadroths a bit more exciting, then yeah, it'd be cool to see loads of Magmadroths running around.
It would, especially five Magmadroths would be cool.
Yeah,
that'd be fun. Because
how would you take that though?
What, pardon me?
How would you take 5?
Because it says that in that you're allowed to have an extra 1.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's still gonna like the FYI.
And they can all take a trait. You don't have to.
And they've all got traits.
Yeah.
So 5 of them with traits. It would also be cool to see the Magmadroths do what they did with the Ragnaroks, so you can take the rider off. Because as far as I'm aware, the chair that goes on that
There's 3 different types. Yeah.
But there's also you can have it with non-chair. You can have a Magmadroth without the chair.
Oh, I've not seen that.
Okay.
No, I think it's built into the framework.
Oh, that's a shame.
That's part of the body, part of the ship, part of the crew.
Part of the crew. Okay, all right. Well, that's a bit of a mistake. Well, not. I mean, they didn't foresee this ahead of time, but that would have been cool to have seen unmounted ones or something like that, or even just go along a color scheme, boys. Have a red Magmadroth, have a blue Magmadroth, and give them different rules. That would be fun. Just do you know what I mean? Just be look, these guys are snow ones, or they're made of ice power or something. Just because Dan unsupervised, you gorgeous man. Can't wait to talk to you later.
So a frost one, a frost Magmadroth.
Yeah.
Every time you cast a spell near it gets +1 save.
Something like that. I would never. You're good at coming up with rules.
-1 to wound, maybe.
You should be.
In an aura.
Yeah. You should be a rule designer. How have you come up with this? What about a green one that does poison in AoE? Yeah. I wonder if there's a trait that makes them fight at the start of the combat phase. I'm almost certain there'll be a trait that makes them fight at the start.
Seems like everybody does.
Yeah, everyone does that now. But I was talking to Vince from Warhammer Weekly the other day, and he said that this happened in Magic. What happened is everyone eventually got the ability to go first in the fight phase. So then they started a new phase, which is the pre-fight phase.
At the end of the charge phase, you can now fight. And now it's going to be at the beginning of the hero phase. You can, fuck.
So it got broken down again, and I was like, wow, let's not let that happen.
The game's going to have 50 million phases.
Yeah.
Just play one turn.
But overall, John, what did you think? What do you think about the low movement of the army, or just the Fire Slayers book in of itself?
Well, I don't think that it had low movement necessarily, as Nathan said, that you tunnel it, but it kind of forced you into taking the smiters to be able to tunnel up on objectives and just stand there and do nothing for the rest of the game. I mean, if you had to run them off the board, it would be a different story, for sure, 100%.
Okay.
Low movement sucks.
Okay.
Balls.
Nath, what are your thoughts?
That's what the job of the Blowbot job machine is.
Good. Solid. Absolutely. Right, okay. Sinise has done us... Oh, no, Sinise. Has done us... The pre-game fight phase is my favourite phase. All right, look, let's move on. Let's talk about events that have happened this weekend, shall we?
Yeah.
So there were, I think, 3 events this weekend, but there's 2 that I definitely know of, both in Australia. So there was the Anzac Cup, and then there's also a Games Workshop's first heat in Australia.
Okay.
Now, so Anzac Cup was won by our lovely friend Mick at the Failed Charge.
Oh, cool.
No, not the Anzac Cup. Sorry, the Games Workshop Heat was won by Mick at the Failed Charge. If you go listen to their podcast, I'm sure you'll be able to hear all about it there.
Yeah.
So the At the Failed Charge, wonderful group, and it's totally worth a listen.
Yeah, it'd be entertaining. That'll
be super entertaining. So you should go give that a listen. And again, massive congratulations there. And then Ash McEwen won the Anzac Cup with Nighthorn. And check this out, get ready for this. Inside of his army was an endless spell. Well, he's only got the one endless spell. Let me just double check. No, he's got more than one endless spell. I'll give you a clue. He's got 2, and one of them has got shackles in. What do you guys think was the other endless spell?
Since you're making a big deal out of this, it's not cogs.
Nope.
If it's a big deal, Nathan, I've run a spell that's when you roll a 6, it's a big deal. If you don't roll a 6, it's not such a big deal. So I'm guessing it's that one.
What, Purple Sun?
Yes.
You guys are correct. It was the Purple Sun.
Oh, gutted. I was hoping it was one of the Nighthawk ones.
Yeah, I mean, they're worse. They are worse, sir.
Still,
that's cool. I like that. That's nice.
Yeah. I also, thanks LLV for pointing that out. On the stat show, I did also call the Nighthorn army potentially winning. So, 10 points for me and for Gryffindor if I was in Gryffindor. But Purple Sun, Ash is an amazing player from everything that Dan Unsupervised has ever told me. So that's awesome. He's got an amazing Zinch list written up on the Honest Wargamer. It'd be cool to get his Nighthaunt list up and discussed on there. But winning with the Purple Sun as well, he's got to be chuffed with that. Also, big news coming out of that particular tournament. A gorgeous young man out in Australia. He won by the name of Gabriel. He won 4 games and only lost his 5th game, and that was with the Legion of Azkor.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, baby. He came 2nd in that event. How's that make you feel, Nath?
Stupid Australians.
Well, no, Gabriel T. Hanna is a gorgeous man. Yeah.
No, he's not. He plays Legion of Azkor.
What? No,
Yeah.
It's wonderful. He also got like a best army nom because it was really pretty. He had 2 Magna Cannons in his list as well. So,
What was the big thing at the back?
Skullcracker War Engine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe you should ally one of those into your list.
It's not an ally. It's just part of the army.
Skullcracker.
Yeah.
Ah, okay.
Well, it's because it's out of production.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And he's a really nice
That
fella.
one. Cha.
Yeah. So you can't buy them from Games Workshop anymore, but they do have current rules inside Age of Sigmar. So instead of going to like Chinese recasters, he just did a conversion. Messaged Games Workshop was like, "Can I use this at the event, please? You don't sell this anymore." And they were like, "Yeah, that's cool." So that's quite cool.
Yeah.
That's fun. And then also anything but this topic I interviewed on my show last week. If you want to have a listen, there we go. So you can go and talk to, if you would like to listen to Ash last week talk about his Nighthaunt list, you can go and listen to our YouTube video with Dan and Supervised last week.
Cool.
Yeah,
Job done.
Nice. Anyway, so I think those are the only 2 events that happened this weekend, unless I'm being mental.
There was one in Sweden.
Oh, and there was also one in Sweden, won by Jonathan Skaven. And also the interview with Dan and Supervised last week was actually with Gabriel. Gabe, cool. Not with Ash. Sorry. It was won by Skaven.
Yeah. The thing is that Skaven player is a super nice guy, and he's been playing Skaven pre-tome for quite some time. So I actually like that he's the one winning it, not random bandwagoner.
And also important to note as well, obviously, that it was one day, so as LOV points in the chat, it's not a real event, just a kick around, just a local weekender, just a little bit of a laugh.
Cool.
Yeah, good. All right, cool. So I think
it actually got a perfect score, so all the kill points, all the objectives, and all the wins.
I'd also like to point out that Chaos Dwarves have played, 3 players have played Chaos Dwarves in the past 2 weeks at events, and I'm the person who's done the worst. So big shout out to everyone else helping me keep the stats up, because it's not me doing it. I just want that to be confirmed. But 2nd place with Chaos Dwarves is exciting. So we're now on the podium. We're in the 1 to 3s. We now just need to start getting first places, and then you guys are going to rue the day.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Moving on. If you guys are okay with that. Yeah. I think Nighthaunt winning, that's obviously really exciting. Go listen to The Failed Charge one more time. At The Failed Charge. It's a podcast you can listen to where you'll be hearing all about Mixed Victory. Totally worth listening to. So, Adepticon. John, you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. So me and Nath attended Adepticon. Do you remember, Nath?
Yeah.
Okay, so we've already done a little bit of a show, which I don't know how I'm going to, so we recorded that bit. I guess this is where I'll introduce that part. Done. So you'll have to listen to that on the podcast. And now we're back. And we're back.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about the championships. Which we attended, right? So first off, before we say anything, I'd just like to say a massive thank you to anyone who donated to the GoFundMe to send us over there. That was very cool of you. Yeah. I'd also like to say thank you to everyone on Patreon and stuff, because the GoFundMe wasn't exactly all the money we needed. So the Patreon money and everyone on Twitch helped us get there. So thank you so much. You guys are ace. And also thank you to everyone at Adepticon, because the atmosphere was amazing and everyone was the most friendly, welcoming. We've been to 2 different, I've been to 3 countries now, but both Australia and America. You can't really ask for more from a community, right?
Very friendly, very generous bunch of dudes.
Very
and dudettes.
Yeah, dudes, dudettes, friendly, loads of cuddles, lots of drinks. Sometimes too many drinks, depending on who you're talking to. But yeah, massive thank you to everyone. You guys are wonderful. So let's talk about the championship, shall we?
Yeah.
The championships. So it was a 2,000-point match play event. Me and you both attended, and you decided to take
Gloomspike Gits.
What did you think of the Gloomspike Gits?
They're the best thing ever.
Okay, good.
Since sliced bread.
What was in your list?
So I had Scragroth the Loon King.
Nice.
Who had the Hand of Gork.
Arguably too cheap.
Yeah, sure. And then we had a Fungoid Cave Shaman with the Verdant Mantle.
Ooh, sexy.
And he had the Great Green Spite.
Mm.
Then I had 2 Madcap Shamans, one with Itchy Nuisance and one with Called the Moon.
Mm-hmm.
Then I had a Loon Boss. Just a Loon Boss, doing Loon Boss type things. I had a 60 Stabbers.
Yeah.
With the small stabbers, not the long stabbers.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah.
Not long stabbers.
No.
People love the long stabbers, though.
Silly them. So the small stabbers, much better for getting in between people's ribs.
Stabbing, right?
Yeah.
Good.
And then 40 shooters. They were great.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed my shooters. And then a little squig herd of 5 squigs and 1 squig herder.
Okay.
That was my battle line for those 3 units. Then I had 10 Boingot Bounders. Just bouncing around, having fun. 5 Spore Splatter Fanatics. 6 Sneaky Snufflers. 1 Ale Guzzler Gargant. And a load of Endless Spells. I had the Mork's Mighty Mushroom.
That's a good mushroom.
The Malevolent Moon.
Nice.
The Scuttle Tide.
Yeah.
And the Aether Void Pendulum. And the Racist Swords.
Yes, the racist swords. So I would say that my very first piece of feedback there is my experience was of the games that I played is not many people played with Endless Spells or knew what to do against Endless Spells. That would be my kind of key component.
Yeah.
In fact, let me just think it through. I don't think anyone I played had any Endless Spells. Maybe Geminids. I think maybe...
Yeah, I saw Geminids.
I think
a few
Sean
times.
took Geminids. But I think, apart from that, I don't think I saw any Endless Spells. And I don't know if that was your experience as well.
Yeah, no, I saw Geminids. Maybe a Palisades once, but definitely Geminids. But then a lot of the times I didn't even cast the Geminids.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whatever.
Why?
Yeah, I don't know why.
No, seriously, too few costs or...
Well, no, yeah, they because we were playing in the realms as well, so we had full realm magic. So that was great for my list. I was loving it, and then there were just loads of other options really.
Decian's just put I run 2 Gargants in my Gloomspite army, so
that's twice as good as my list. Then
put half as good as the army could be, right?
Yeah.
Buster Kabul says, listen to the Gloomspite list makes me wonder if I'm listening to a fairy tale. So I would say, my first piece of feedback is I didn't see a lot of Endless Spells generally knocking around.
Yeah.
And as your list points out, and lists, I had 3 Endless Spells, and I don't really have access to a lot of magic realistically. All my casters are tier 1. I did see a couple of vortexes and other things, but I mean, overall, generally, I didn't see loads, which I think is not a mistake. But I think if you guys are out there listening and you think, I'm going to play some Warhammer this weekend, just make your army worse. Just take 4 or 5 Endless Spells and just play with them and just see how you feel. Because
better, not worse.
Well, better. No, yeah. What I mean is don't worry too much about trying to make it. Just pick some. And if we can learn anything from Ash this weekend, winning with Nighthorn, even take a Purple Sun. Right?
I bet that's pretty scary, yeah.
Yeah, I bet it is pretty scary. So we've had a question, Nath. What was your best performing unit?
El Guzzler Gargant.
Was it actually the best performing unit?
Always, yeah.
Was he actually? I'll ask you 1/3 time to tell the truth. Was he your best performing unit?
That's a tough one. The Stabbers did really well. I was really impressed with the Stabbers, but then they worked really well when they were combined with the Spore Splatter and the Loon Moss.
Mm-hmm.
The Boingot Bounders are a great threat, but again, they work really well with Sneaky Snufflers.
Mm-hmm.
So the whole list is all about it needs it loves to work off of its mates.
It's all about the mates.
Yeah. Oh, the shooters were great. Really, really good. I love the shooters. I guess Scragrot, yeah. Scragrot? No, the Gargant.
Wow, John, how do you feel? What do you think was his favourite out of that list?
Stabbers.
Stabbers.
Yeah.
No, yeah, the Stabbers did some hard work, but then, in some games they didn't do anything, and it was the shooters were doing the graft.
Yeah.
Scragrot was consistent. The Gargant really did do really well in a couple of games as well. So the list, I was very, very happy with the list. Hadn't really had enough practice games with it, so I definitely learned a lot using it. It's great.
Okay.
So did you tend to take the first turn, or did you tend to let your opponent go first?
Great question, John.
Yeah, well, so I had 11 drops, I think it is. So I didn't tend to have the choice of who decided.
Okay.
I would tend to try and go second if I could, though, most of the time. Yeah.
I have come to the conclusion that if I have the tools to punch somebody in the face first turn, it's very seldom that I don't. And it's a problem that I try to remedy. The squigs are so fast, man.
You're just horny for the off. You're just like, let's go. Yeah.
Go.
No foreplay, just go.
Didn't even spit.
Hyra says that he loves the Purple Sun model, and hi Lady B Miniatures, hope you're well. You can take it at some point, it's not like it's going to affect my results. Hyra, you are correct. And also, Cobra says I'm going to play Chain Colossus scenario tomorrow. It'll be great. It is a really good one, and it does have a Purple Sun in it as a scenario from Milan's Osprey. So, okay, good. So we'll talk about the games in order. I took to the tournament. I took 2 Demon Smiths. I took the Mask of Slanesh and the Verminlord Corruptor. One of my Demon Smiths has the Thermal Rider cloak, so he could fly, and he was also ugly, so he's minus 1 to hit close combat. I then took 30 Fireglaves as my battle line, 20 Fireglaves, and 3 units of 10. 3 units of 10? Wait. That's 50, 80, yeah, that's 80, that's right. And then I took 12 Kadai Fireborn, and I took Geminids, I took Soul Snare Shackles, and I took the Vortex, the Rat Trap, the Warp Lightning Vortex. And I came at 1980 points, which is fun. And I never got to choose the first turn either. The one thing I took away from this weekend, and John, question to the chat and question to you, Nath. I've played 1-drop armies before, or I've played low-drop armies before. I actually, my preference is, or maybe it's just how I'm playing my Chaos Dwarves. My preference almost always is deploying unit by unit and then watching to see what my opponent's going to do in the first turn, and actually watching them stress about the first turn. And I've got some pictures of my games that we can talk through to kind of give you an example of that. Yeah. What do you guys think? Do you like not having the choice? Are you super indecisive and you're like, oh man, that's a lot of pressure, I just can't be asked?
Obviously, I prefer to have the choice, but then my lists always tend to be 1 gazillion drops. So I'm quite prepared to let the other dude make the decision. And you can normally tell if they know that they've got the decision, and you can normally tell by the way they're deploying whether they're going to take the first turn or not.
You can, absolutely.
You can
John,
a lot of the time.
What are your thoughts?
It's good to always have the decision, even though I have a problem with taking it and throwing stuff in their face. But if you come up against Night Hunt, it's always good to get that first turn to get up the board, so you don't have to get 6 Reapers before you start scoring objectives and stuff. But that option is very, 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 very good.
No, I personally prefer. I would prefer to counter deploy and never have the option, ignoring Better Part of Valor as a battle plan. Yeah. Ignoring that particular scenario, I would prefer to have less drops and because I build my army with the tools inside of it to be threatening on the first turn, so that they question. What's fun is, let's say, so the Skaven Vortex is what is in my list. Now I've got to roll an 8 to cast it and to put it into my enemy's deployment zone or wherever. Number 1, it makes them not deploy together. So already I've paid 100 points to have my army, my opponent deploy uncohesively. So that's huge. Number 2, I paid 100 points for them to, on the first turn, worry about whether or not they're going to go first or second, and potentially deploy really defensively against it. And then if they do deploy defensively, means I can deploy aggressively, like which is what I want. Like I either do what I'm movement 4 most of the time, so I usually want to deploy pretty aggressively. So just having that inside my list means that the choice is less impactful. The only situation will be if there are any armies out there like Fire Slayers of old, because it used to be an arms race. It's good that they're on release now because we can bring it up, where they used to pop up and just sit on objective and I win the game, right? But that doesn't really exist anymore. There isn't really the one drop I'm going to pop up. There is the one drop Dreadwood, for instance, that will come and try and alpha strike you, or potentially one drop Winterleaf or something where they'll put like 1,000 Dryads in front of you. But I think I've got the tools to manage those things, so I'm not too stressed about it. In fact, I prefer it because my opponent stresses, which I enjoy, and that's like a good way to get them on the back foot on the first turn. So that was my takeaway really about deploying, and I was wondering about you guys. John, it just sounds like you're horny for action.
Yeah, that's an issue for me. If I have something that can go across the field and charge something, 9 out of 10 times I will. It's going. It's going. So I'm thinking of removing the squigs now.
Just to teach yourself.
Yeah, and then I only have Hand of Gork, which is a 50-50, right? And then I have to do a 50-50 charge with 6 inches with Fanatics. So those things might just hold me back, as a player.
Oh my god!
But the Magler, man, fuck me, it's so great.
Jason D. Fluffer, thanks for subscribing, by the way, for 17 months. What an angel!
Wow.
Thank you to everyone who's subscribed. We've almost hit a year and a half.
Wow, yeah.
That's not bad, right?
Yeah,
that's quite new for it. It's not very we haven't been going for a long time, really. Okay. So my list was that, and it was 11 drops, I think. The endless spells are a nice way to put stuff in the list. You've made me just think of a really fun list, which involves a Sangor Shaman, a Vermin Lord Corruptor, the Bale Taurus spell, the Vortex spell, and also Purple Sun. Yeah, just having 300 points and 3 spells sounds like a terrible idea, so I'm going to do it.
That sounds great.
It is great. So that was my list. And I was quite happy with it, realistically. So there we go. So, your first game, who'd you play? What'd you play?
So, first game I've played against Josh. So, he was very kind. He gave me some headache tablets because I was feeling a little bit worse for wear.
You were.
From the Friday. Basically, I wasn't feeling totally compos mentis. So, I decided for the tournament, trying to figure out what secondaries was going to be too hard, so I used a dice to decide, and that worked out all right sometimes and not so good the other times. But so
you can only pick a secondary once, right?
Yeah, that's fine. Good. Then the dice just bounces on to the next one, so it's fine.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So I'm not going to bother talking about secondaries that much. They were fair enough. They were cool, but like I said, I probably didn't play enough times with the list anyway beforehand, so it was. But I learnt loads playing the game, so it's cool. So I played. Walked up to the table, saw we had some Mornfang and some Gore Grunters and some Stonehorns on the table. So I was like, "Yes, Bragath's Beast Hammer." So I said to him, "Is that Bragath and his mates?" He was like, "Yeah." So I was like, "Sweet, it's going to be great."
And where can you find Bragath's Beast Hammer if other people want to read about it? Which book's it in?
Oh, so it's Beastclaw Raiders.
Beastclaw Raiders book.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, it's great. So the Gore Grunters buff all the Beastclaw units in that, give them +1 to hit. So they've become pretty. Yeah,
it's an Iron Jaws Beastclaw Raider specific battalion.
Yeah. It's pretty good. They get an overrunning stampede. So and all sorts. It's not bad actually.
The day you can fit Godrak in Bragath's Beast Hammer, I'm all over it. Third one.
Turn one again.
Turn one again. I'm in.
But with an overriding stampede. Wow, you'll just absolutely paste everything.
Yeah.
Nothing would be able to take that. Anyway, so I can't remember. I think I took first turn, just moved up into positions. Then he charged me, did loads of damage on the charge, but he only managed to get a couple of the Stonehorns, and I think so he saved his overriding stampede for the following turn when he was trying to get the Mournfang in and stuff. But in that turn, in my turn, the Grots went crazy and just dragged the Stonehorns down, and that became a running theme. The Grots just so choppy when you put sneaky stufflers on them, Spore Splatter Fanatics. And
so they end up with 3 attacks each?
Yeah. And the netters end up with 5 attacks each. And then you run your Loon Boss into the mix, pop his command ability, because you've got so many command points.
You don't know what to do with.
Yeah, you're just like, I wonder what I can spend these points on. So he's in there, pops his little ability, so you're doing mortal wounds in addition. And yeah.
On 6s to wound?
On 6s to wound, yeah.
But you've got so many dice.
Yeah. So you're rolling loads of dice. And yeah, just having a great time. So yeah, they and then obviously also all the endless spells and the realm spells. I was just using those, just taking wounds off here, there, everywhere. Ran my Ale Guzzler Gargant up to one of the Stonehorns.
Oh yeah,
about to charge, rolled a double. Damn it!
What does that mean?
So he falls over.
All right.
Yeah. So we roll off. I won the roll off. I was only 3 inches away, so I fell straight on the Stonehorn. Yeah. Got back up. Stonehorn was dead.
Because when you fall over, it does D6 mortal wounds.
No, D3.
D3, but that killed him.
That was enough to kill him, so it was great. So that was the highlight. So that was.
So you got to run around the mortal realms being scared of falling
gargants.
Okay, yeah.
Which, so over the whole weekend, my gargant failed to put anything in its pants. I did try several times until the last game when it stuffed a netter in its pants, but it did fall over several times and did quite a bit of damage falling over on stuff. So
nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
all right.
So yeah.
You win your game?
Yeah, managed to win that game.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I played Pierre, who is a French Canadian gentleman with 30. That's right, 30 eels from the Adepticon army with Voltronus. Yeah, I was like, oh, okay. I guess this is gonna how the weekend goes. Thrown under the bus. So yeah, that was a lot when you actually look at it realistically. He had 18 offensive eels and 12 defensive eels. So nice mix there. Which is a bit problematic. I obviously wanted to put the Fireglaves into the Ignores Rend eels, and I wanted to put. I just didn't want to go near the others. He gave me. So I deployed quite defensively in a box. So just my Kadai behind my Fireglaves. So if he decided he was going to, and I just deployed 2 inches out. So if he did 3 inches out. So if he did attack the Fireglaves, then the Kadai were going to be able to strike over the top, right? So that was good. But the first turn, he gave me the first turn because he was obviously looking for the double. So then in the first turn, I deployed really deep, but I put the Mask of Sinesh right on the line.
Yeah.
But because it was my last deployment, again, this was a huge running theme of the weekend. I could put my key deployment somewhere I wanted, wherever I wanted. And I made a bit of a mistake on the first turn. I put the Corruptor down, and he had told me he got the Spellweaver, which is an auto unbind. So I'm going to stop a spell. He had told me that. But I just ignored him, obviously. Well, I wasn't thinking straight. I hadn't written down my priorities. So then he gave me the first turn, so I just ran the Mask of Sinesh into his army. So that, if you guys are unaware, that makes everything within 12 inches just half movement. So now his eels are half move. I cast the Warp Lightning Vortex, and it went off, and then he auto unbound it. And then I cast Soul Snare Shackles, but I put Soul Snare Shackles into the kind of the no man's land between his army and my army, so that even if he on the first turn ran forward, he would then be in the middle of the army. In his first turn, he then charged. He moved towards me, but could only move so far because he was half movement. Charged the Mask of Sinesh, so she died. But then I won the priority roll, and then I cast the Warp Lightning Vortex. Which meant he just took 2d3 mortal wounds on just a ton of his stuff. Voltronus rolling 2 6s on Voltronus, which does d6 mortal wounds, but then he has something that ignores magic on a 3+, and he failed both of them. So Voltronus just died to the Vortex. And then on his turn 2, he then had What was really interesting about watching him play was he clearly had a plan that he did not deviate from. He's like, the unit of 9 eels, they get Mystic Shield, they charge. And I was like, you're right next to Shackles, man. Just unbind Shackles. But he didn't. And so his army was all half movement again. It also couldn't run. It also couldn't fly. And then in turn 2 for Ironeth, they can run and charge. So he was like, oh, I'm movement 8 again. So in his first turn, he only got 2 units into combat, and he'd lost half of those, not half, but quite a few of those to mortal wounds anyway, because it was hitting all of his different units.
Yeah.
And then the only really key part was on the right-hand side. There was 10 little fireglaves in cover, and they took a charge from 3 offensive eels. Took a charge, yeah, the mortal wounds, the whole thing, and then they just started firing into them. And then that was the end of the game, basically. I just whomped his army, and it was just all over by turn 3. But it was hugely down to rolling an 8 on those 2 spells. I mean, I was happy with the deployment and running the mask in. I played a good game there, but I didn't really do much to make the vortex happen. Like, truth be told, I mean, I was set up when he did finally charge in. Like, again, I played well. I put the defensive lines out well, so that when he charged in, I attacked in his turn, and then I got the next turn, so I attacked again. So that's all good play, but I didn't really do much to like create the game, if that makes sense. But I'm glad, because had he just, and also because he could have just won the game if he'd have just gone, because it was what was it? It was the 4 objectives. Border War, yeah. Was it? Yeah. Anyway,
not Border War. It was.
We have the pack somewhere. Should have
Total
written it down.
Commitment one. No, it's the one. Yeah, the 4. Yeah, they were all spread out. Dead far.
Yeah. Anyway, but if he'd have just put his eels on the 3 objectives, he'd won the game on the first turn. Nothing I could have done. Yeah, absolutely nothing I could have done. So, but lovely man. He didn't really speak English overly well. Which wasn't a problem. He played the game absolutely competently and was a really nice guy. I just, we couldn't really have, a back and forth. But again, that was arguably really good for me, because it was a really tough matchup. But yeah, he was treated, I did. The Mask of Slanesh got thrown in. She was, I don't know what to, I was trying to think of some cultural references, because you guys might, if you're not from here, might not get the footballer joke. But anyway, like a college girl at a college football party. If you're American, that's what she gets thrown into.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was cool. It was a good game, and I was really chuffed to win it, because I don't think I should have won it. And I think if he'd just taken a moment on the first turn and gone, oh well, if I don't charge, I win, it would have been a bit of a non-game. So I am chuffed, but also does that make sense?
Yeah.
And also the vortex was just boring as shit. Just bleh. Yeah. Anyway, what was your second game like?
So then, second game was Focal Points, and I played against a Tzeentch player. So it's been ages since I played against Tzeentch. So he had a Lord of Change, Big Bird thing. He had the Blue Scribes.
Nice.
He had a couple of units of Enlightened.
Running theme of the weekend.
Yeah. And he had a unit of 20 Zangor, some Marauders, and some Carrack Acolytes maybe, or something like that. They just hung around at the back of the board. It was pretty cool. I was still not 100%, so again rolled for my secondaries, all of that jazz. And yeah, I forgot how good Tzeentch are in the magic phase. So yeah, I really struggled to get any spells off. But the list is quite cool, because then I've still got the combat. So I've still got the Boying Grots and the units of Grots. And the units of Grots handled themselves again really well. The highlight being when 20 Zangor ran and charged across the board into my line. I had fast protection on that unit as well, so he only killed 3 of those dudes, and then they just turned around and stabbed 18 of the 20 Zangor dead.
Wow, that's amazing. So that's 36 wounds.
Yeah.
It
was pretty impressive. The other 2 ran away even. Yeah, so that was it. Job done. But we ran out of time in this one. I mean, we both had massive magic phases, so I think, and also I don't think I was on top of my game at that moment of the day. But yeah, so he got up quite high early on, and then just as I was like getting back, overwhelming him with my numbers, and then starting to threaten all the points, we just ran out of time. So
Okay, fair enough.
So there you go. So yeah, that ended up as a loss, a major loss to me.
Okay, that's a bit of a shame.
Gargant made a long charge. That was fun.
And what did you do?
Got into some marauders, killed a few of them. That was about it.
Good.
Yeah.
All right, solid.
Yeah.
I also forgot to mention my last game that because it's key. I also had Geminids, so his main block of 9 offensive heals were -2 to hit for the whole game, effectively. So that was pretty telling. My second game, though, and the reason I'll mention it is because in my second game I got no spells off for the entire game at all, ever, because I was playing Khorne. And I was playing against Steph with his Khorne, which was cool. And again, it was focal points, and it was all about the middle. And long story short, we just kind of had a bash up in the middle where I had my Kadai, and then who were immune to battle shock effectively for the game, versus his whole army, while I also shot at his army. And the Massacre Slanesh on the first turn made him a little bit slower, but really wasn't that impactful. But he did have a really cool Demon Prince, who you can't build anymore, but it was like stacked up to the nines with the Sword of Anti-Heroes, and he came over and just nuked one of my heroes, which is a little bit offensive.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it just flew. Like, first turn, he was like whipped, yeah, run and charge, just like came over. He's like, I've got 7 attacks, and was just like, boom, yeah.
What did he kill? The Demon Smith?
Yeah, my general.
Oh.
Yeah, just absolutely walloped him. But we had a good dust up. He had loads of Blood Warriors. He had Wrathmongers, old school Wrathmongers. So obviously didn't want to fight them with my Kadai. I ended up shooting them. I think I got down to like 1 or 2 Kadai left. So it was really quite touch and go. But it was a really fun game, like a pretty cornate game. But it all came down to holding that center objective. And because I'd effectively locked the Kadai, have got such a big footprint, I'd effectively locked most of his units in some sort of fight in the centre, that eventually, like, it came down to him not having enough dudes.
Yeah.
But he was a really good opponent. We had a really fun game. It was really nice to play. It was pretty much a mosh in the middle, while all of his stuff moshed, and I shot at the people for moshing. Yeah. Like crowd control. Just hosed them down. I was like, stop moshing. This is too much. Yeah, but wicked game. Real fun. Really
Cool.
Nice guy. So that was cool. What was your third game?
So then, last game I played against Jimmy from Texas, who had
Jimmy.
Gloomspike Gits. So it was a Gits off.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was great. I can't remember the scenario. But yeah, I had all the magic. I think he had 2 Mangler Squigs, but he deployed them on his left-hand side.
2 Mangler Squigs?
Yeah, 2 Manglers. I had magic, he had Manglers, but the Manglers ended up out of position. So he started trying to run them diagonally across towards where the main fight was. And then while they were running over, I just peppered them with magic. And by the time they got there, they were pretty fucked. And so that was it.
They just limped towards the objective.
No, well, they get better, don't they, when they get worse? But there were like not a lot of them left, so quickly stabbed them, put them down, and
not yeah. Hey, how you doing? The guard dog there, just making sure that
that we're safe.
That we're safe. But good game.
Yeah, great game.
Mirror matches are the most fun.
I really like playing against other Gits players. It's just really good fun. I was lucky to have a couple of games against them. So
okay,
you learn so much about the army, what different stuff can do. I just felt like with the magic superiority, I had more control over the game, and mainly because we were playing in the realms, so I had loads of tools that I could use.
Yeah.
And then obviously I had all the endless spells as well, which I could just so you had all the boring ones, control, lock stuff down. I had all the fucking razzmatazz, racist swords,
racist swords,
malevolent.
That's rude. Calling mine boring. I enjoyed mine.
No. Yeah, just stopping stuff happening, whereas mine's all like whizzing around, stabbing stuff, stabbing yourself, stabbing everything.
I mean, if it's dead, you've stopped it.
It's
You
great.
get how that works,
No,
right?
No.
It's not razzmatazz if it's dead.
Some of it goes faster. Have you ever stabbed a Mangler squig? It takes off. So.
All right. Well, do you want to hear some? Do you want to see something cool for my game 3?
Go on then. Show
Okay.
us something cool.
So if you guys pay attention to the screen there. So in my, let's get this up. This should work. I'm pretty certain. So in my third game, I played against Tony P, right, which is really exciting.
Yeah.
So the man who built War Scroll Builder, he changed his Twitter handle, Nate, to @War Scroll Builder, by the way, which we had a joke about. Anyway, I was a big fan, and I am a big fan of him. So I was really lucky and fortunate to get to play him. So again, thank you, Tony. And it's one of those things where you see someone on the internet and you big him up and you meet him in person. And he's just as cool.
Oh, he's even cooler.
He is even cooler.
Super cool.
Yeah,
dude.
real nice dude, real fun. And we just had a great game. So he's a great representative of the hobby, and it's cool that someone that nice is playing Warhammer.
He's
Just plays freshy.
all-round hobby dude of note. He plays a good game, paints superb models, and then he frickin' finds time to do War Scroll Builder as well.
I know. My other issue with him, though, is he's just always seems so far away from me.
Was he short?
Yeah, that's my joke, John. Yeah, he's short. Yeah.
But probably the best looking man there as well. So, yeah.
But he's just, Luke's warm. Thanks so much for subscribing. You what?
Looking good from afar, like the model. When you pick him up and look at him, it's not so pretty anymore.
No, he's if anything, he's like Oscar Lyle's painting, even better when you get closer.
Yeah.
Shit.
Yeah.
Right, okay, so as you guys can see on the screen if you're watching, if you listen to the podcast, I apologise, but I'll put up a link to an image or something. But if you guys are looking at the screen, you can see how the deployment went. So we were playing, so there are, as you guys can see on the screen, 4 objectives that you've got to hold, and yours are worth 1 and theirs are worth 2. Right, that's effectively the game. So you guys should be able to see some drawing on the screen. Yeah. So this was where having loads of deployments was really, really useful. So what I wanted to do was, as you guys can see on the screen, on the left-hand side, I wanted to box up, and I wanted to basically just attack one flank, win on that one flank pretty early, and then go and clear another flank, and then win the game. And I just put 10 little fire glaives on the right-hand side to just hold that objective. Because Tony's last 2 drops effectively were those 2 Ghoul Kings on Terrorgeist. So, and Nathan, John, and kind of want to have a talk about playing against Ghoul Kings on Terrorgeist in this. This is why I've set it up like this. Okay. So they're move 14, and then when they go into something, they almost always just delete the thing. But the issue is they delete the thing, then they can then pile in an attack again, and then delete the thing behind it. So while they're movement 14, they can charge the thing they're charging. They also have got an additional 3-inch range, but their more attack is 3-inch range. So they actually have, from wherever you put your screen, which you guys can see there, they have a 6-inch effective range beyond your screen.
Yeah.
So it's a lot to think about when you're in deployment. Because if you put a character just 3 inches behind, be not even that, 6 inches behind, he can get you, right? So you need to be aware of that. So I was aware of that, but he also didn't want to go near my fire glaives, so I put 70 of them in one corner, along with my Kadai, right? But he's obviously got movement, and I don't have movement, so I needed to, but while we were deploying, as you guys can see, there's 2 shoehorn units of ghouls. Can you see the shoehorn unit of ghouls?
Oh, no, it's not on the screen.
Oh, okay. So I'm hoping that people on Twitch can see it. Yeah, they can see it. Good. So there are 2 shoehorn units of ghouls which he put down, which I didn't really appreciate this, if I'm honest, because effectively he put a Terrorgeist down, put ghouls around it, and then took the Terrorgeist off. And in my head, I didn't say it to him, in my head I was like, if a Ghoul King goes inside there, you're lying. It was just these are where they're going to go. I was like, oh, really? It was the biggest bait I've ever seen. It was just real fun. Yeah, we were just having fun at deployment. So the thing that I did, I'm going to try and make it so you can see, Nate, because I want you to be able to, I'm going to mess my camera up a whole bunch of stuff so you can see. A little bit better?
Yeah.
Right, so what I did was, eventually, I realised that he was going to give me the first turn. Yeah, because it just at a certain point, it was when he put this Ghoul King. So this Ghoul King in the center was on the line, but this Ghoul King here was put behind the screen.
Yeah.
So he's going to give me the first turn, right? Because he doesn't want me to charge it. And that Ghoul King that's on the far left-hand side was his general, I'm pretty certain. So what I did was I put the Verminlord Corruptor with his Endless Spell, casting potential, in the center, just in no man's land. And then, when it was quite clear, very last drop, the Mask of Slanesh right there.
Yeah.
Because I knew he was going to give me the first turn. So all I did was I just run forward and then just made it so that this Ghoul King couldn't come and attack me for a turn. No, not this Ghoul King, sorry. Wrong way around. Over here, to make sure that Ghoul King couldn't attack me. I was really happy with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, fuck you. Oh, that's not what I did. Fuck. That was my plan.
Yeah.
That was my plan if he gave me the first turn.
Yeah.
So, because he didn't give me the first turn, and he took the first turn, what he did was he took his Terrorgeist, he came over, and he murdered this. Now, this is where I made a mistake, because I was being really precious and sensitive about him taking the double turn, and then coming and attacking my block. So what he did was when he charged, he came over, landed on the right-hand side, here, and so I couldn't really shoot him as well as I wanted. So my turn, I just ran over there. Yeah, he killed. Obviously, he killed the. He beat the fuck out of the
Corruptor.
The Corruptor.
Yeah.
But then I ran over there, and then I just made him half movement. So then this block was safe, which meant in my turn, I decided that I was going to go up here with the Kadai and get super aggressive. My general was going to follow them, and this is something we're going to talk about at the end of the show about Inspiring Presence. My general was there with a command point, being like, so if I lose the turn, he's going to charge them. I'm going to fight back. It's not the Always Strikes First Terrorgeist. So then in my turn, I'm going to get to attack again. So 2 rounds of combat against him. Then, and that'll only be going into turn 2. I then go into here, and then I'll win the game. That was my plan.
Yeah.
And that's effectively exactly what happened. We shut down this Ghoul King on Terrorgeist, and then he did loads of summoning on the right-hand side, and then eventually these ghouls ran down. But these 10 Fireborn, by the way, can fight off anything. They fought off 3 Crypt Flayers and were like there, until eventually the 20 ghouls came and beat the fuck out of them. But they beat the Flayers. But long story short, this is what happened. But where it went wrong was he came over, killed 6 Kadai, maybe 7, I can't remember the numbers exactly, ended up with 5 left, and 5 weren't able to kill him. He then, he ended up just like, and then that was the game basically. Because I did get the next turn, did kill him, and then we got into here, we got into a fight, and then I won there. But that just didn't go my way, because although I got the trades right, my dice wouldn't roll the way that I wanted them to work. But that's what you have to do. I was really proud of getting the bait out, but I made a mistake here, and I didn't put them close enough. But I did eventually shoot it to death. So I don't know how I feel. But long story short, that's how the game went. But was really fun doing the deployment. Really, really fun. And it was really, and I wanted to highlight it loads because I wanted to talk about the Inspiring Presence mechanic. So that's what I'd like to talk about at the end. But it was really hard fought. But I enjoyed putting the character out in the middle and giving him like a 10-inch charge as bait, because it wasn't guaranteed he was going to get the charge either. So there was some options for failure, and that's so hard. So how do you guys feel about the Ghoul Kings, like, and their threat range? Does it bother you or not bother you?
Well, the threat range is definitely part of the scariness of it, because not only are they hit like a truck, but they move so fast as well, because they got a spell that gives them the run and charge thing, doesn't it?
Yeah, one of them.
Yeah, so...
I mean, effectively, you will have, potentially, you will have four Terrorgeist hit, right? Or four rounds of combat from 2 Terrorgeist, right? Because one fights at the start of the combat phase, and then you get to pick the other one, because you haven't picked any units yet.
Yeah.
Which is, I mean, it's an interesting mechanic, I guess, because if you can't fight at the start of the combat phase, you aren't able to fight at all with it. So there are actually some things you can have, like to work around it, but some armies just don't have those tools. And if you don't have those tools, I don't think you will enjoy that game pretty much.
It was so scary. Like watching one of them go in and just like kill 7 Kadai in a round. Well, 2 rounds of combat was just like terrifying. But Inspiring Presence is your friend there, like, and that was really good.
Yeah.
But number one, he was a treasure to play, like, and we had loads of fun. And I felt quite proud of that game because I felt like I'd played the game. I'd made a mistake with the Corrupt. I should have made it a little bit closer, but I eventually got the Ghoul King, so that was fine. But I think that was thanks to him failing the charge, I think, realistically. So, lucky me. But I just couldn't capitalize, whereas the Ghoul King can so reliably capitalize. Yeah. Like, it can just so reliably do its thing. Whereas, like, I'd got the fight that I wanted. I just couldn't make the dice do the thing that... It's not even like I rolled particularly bad. I think he had like a few wounds left, right? But then he heals D3 and he's in the fight. And eventually I did kill the Ghoul King. I think it came down to like a stomp. Like, so they do mortal wounds on a 2+ at the end. Yeah. Like, it came down to like something really just childish. And, it just stood on him and did the mortal wound. And Tony was a treasure. I forgot the stomp a couple of times. And every time I was, I forgot. And he was like, oh man, here, roll it. Like, he was just real sweet, like funny and just a great person to play. I know like I'm fanboying, but he was a wicked gamer, and played really, really well as well. Something I didn't talk about there is on that left-hand flank with that Ghoul King, he actually on the first turn just retreated and then did loads of summoning. So while it looks like I'm only against 10 ghouls and 1 Ghoul King, it ended up being against also 3 units of horrors, and also a Vargeist was in that combo as well eventually. The Vargeist, who, by the way, my Demon Smith flew over and punked to death. Yeah, that's right. My Wizard Hero went over and beat him up. Do you know why? My Wizard Hero has 2 attacks. Yeah? Do you know Drazaroth the Ashen, my dwarf on top of a bull? Yeah. He has 1 attack. A Dwarf Lord with 1 attack.
Yeah, he's not really a dwarf lord.
But anyway,
confirmed.
But it was a great game, and I lost the game, but I was super chuffed with playing it and I was super chuffed with the list because it gave you lots of kind of like options. Like the Corrupt is a scary enough threat that I can use it as bait. That's really fun as a mechanic to use. The mask is so impactful. I mean, it has to change the Slanesh book, but it's just if it doesn't change the Slanesh book, it's going to go on my list for fucking ever. Just really impactful as well. So just a really solid game. Like, I really enjoyed it personally.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
It seems to be quite a decent painter as well, Tony P.
Yeah, really good painter.
Yeah, it was good. Yeah. So then on Saturday night we hung out, we talked to some folk, we did some chilling.
Yeah, we did. I think we went and did a podcast, didn't we?
We went and did a podcast so we've got to shout them out now, haven't we?
No,
that's not. Yeah. We went and did a podcast with the Dwellers Below. No, we did a podcast with the Dwellers Below's fan podcast.
Yeah.
Is that right? Am I doing that right?
Something like that.
Yeah, so that would be the Rage of Sigmar.
Yeah.
If you're sensitive to jokes or colourful humour, don't listen to their show.
I listened to it this morning. I really enjoyed that one.
Yeah, but you're not a very sensitive soul.
You are not a sensitive soul, Jonathan.
No, I know.
But yeah, they're great dudes. Really wonderful. Watching Jacob run round a lake screaming "We are back" was very funny. They're also very drunk as well. And they cosplayed like Vince Ventrella from Warhammer Weekly for the entire weekend, which is just
very effective.
Very effective. But that was fun, right?
Yeah. No, it was good. Great couple of
We also went to an Irish bar.
Yes, we did.
Never been to an Irish bar before.
No.
Not an American
Irish bar.
Yeah, never an American Irish bar. I think I've been to an English Irish bar.
Yeah, was all right.
Yeah. Next time in Ireland, I should go to an Irish bar.
Or an American diner.
Or an American bar in Ireland. That's what I should do. That makes it better.
Just to balance whatever it is that you have to balance. So, it was fairly quiet night Saturday. Compared to Friday.
Yeah, absolutely. So then what happened on your Sunday, Game 4?
Sunday, Game 4. So I got to play against Byron.
Ord of the Facehammer podcast.
I did.
And Element Games.
Yeah.
And leggings he should not wear.
That's the very fella.
Yeah.
So this was cool. So he had Bone Splitters list, because I think he is doing Bone Splitters maybe for the ETC or something,
He
and he
is.
has to practice with them.
Yeah, you got told to practice.
Yeah, so that was cool. It's been a while since I've played against the old Bone Splitters as well, so it was good to see the old Ruck come out.
Yes, it was.
And basically, I think my army outplayed his army. Was the better of the two armies. I just played it. I made a couple of bad decisions, rolled some bad dice. He rolled some good dice and capitalized on an error I had made and managed to get in behind me. So this was knife to the heart thing, wasn't it?
Knife to the heart. Yeah. Very impactful game.
So it's great. So my army is great at picking out characters that are hidden inside your enemy's territory. So I've got Scuttletide, I've got the Race of Swords, I've got Cool the Moon, I've got all these cool things I can do. Great Green Spite, all nice long range attacks. So I managed to in fact, I didn't need very many of them. Just Scuttletide. Scuttletide ate a big green war boss quickly.
And if you guys are not aware, did he only have the one Cunning Ruck?
He had 2 blocks of 30. Yeah, just the one. So one war boss, 2 blocks of 30, then a couple of small blocks.
Yeah, so if you guys don't know about the Cunning Ruck, taking the war boss out is effectively you neuter it in half, basically. Yeah, it's half as good as it was before.
Yeah, even less than half, because then he just stacks a command ability on them. So each roll of a 6 to hit suddenly becomes 5 hits.
Yeah, he was running Ben Sava's list from the London Masters, if you guys want to go and check that out. You can watch that on Magic Madhouse coverage. Yeah. So that guy died really quick.
So to get that bonus, do you stack something to get that bonus, or is it?
Yeah.
It's the
war boss, the big boss command ability.
So it each arrow explodes as it lands. Basically,
he does it 5 times.
Or something.
I fucking hate stacking.
Yeah. So
I hate it so much.
I think he had the Aether Quartz brooch in there as well. Obviously, there's 2 battalions, so you start off with 3 or 4 command points, and then you just fish for more. Which he wasn't very lucky on that. But then, basically, it all came down to me pulling too far forward with my unit of arrow boys. My arrow boys went into his arrow boys. Not arrow boys, mine are shooters. Shooters went into stabbers. We had like a bit of a shoot-off, and then we closed for combat, and my shooters absolutely wrecked the arrow boys.
Really?
It was great, yeah. In a fight. Pretty much just wiped them out. And I thought that was the main threat towards my position. I also got the random move on my Boingot Bounders, rolled a double 1 there. So that is really what probably cost me the game. But then what I should have done was just drawn back with my shooters and solidified my own
position.
Because this is where I found a beautiful thing for the Ale Guzzler Gargant. He's got a diddy little base. You can pick him up and throw him, and he can land anywhere just about. It's really hard to block him out.
Oh, so what you mean is you can hand a Gork him?
Yeah.
Right, good. Yeah, because people at home are like, wait, they're looking at their giant in their hand, and then they're looking at the board, and they're like, is he sure? Is that what I meant to do?
Yeah, so he landed in the backfield to threaten his objective.
Yeah.
But he had screened it out really nicely with some lines of bone splitters. But
element game movement trays.
Yeah. But then the giant just went in and started messing that all up, and it was like, they started running away this way and that way, and it just meant that opened up a bigger hole. So it's great. You wang the giant and it just disrupts everything. The lines all move, and then you've got a nice big hole where you can lob
some Boingrot Bounders or something.
Boingrot Bounders or your 40 shooters or something, and then they would just, once they're in that back door area, they're pretty scary. They're going to go to town against something.
Because the issue with the issue in Knife to the Heart and the Bone Splitters army specifically is while they can move very fast to go and do their damage, they have to move to go and do the damage, which means they can't defend as well because it's quite short range, right? Yeah. So that's quite a tough matchup for that army itself.
So he had screamed me out. He had the 2 blocks basically in 2 waves to come at me. The first wave got absolutely mullered, and then at the start of in the 3rd turn, the moon was covering the field, so he has -1 to cast. I was +1 to cast. All of this, so I was like, oh, I'm like really in control here. I lost the turn, and I was like, well, I'm not that bothered. I've just wiped out the unit that was threatening my objective. But then he rolled a 6/6 to cast the Hand of Gork. So,
Here we go.
And that 6/6, because it's a double, you triple the move that they go. So suddenly, a unit of 30 dudes suddenly just took off and landed right in front of me. I was like, well, yeah, they're threatening the objective now, but he needs a really big charge to be able to get enough models onto the objective. And then he rolled a 6/6 for the charge as well. I was like, motherfucker. So basically it was 4 6s in a row, basically, is what won the game for him. And then really looking back on it, we just sort of shook hands there and then, but looking back on it, you only take control at the end of the turn, the end of your turn. So if we had played that combat out, there's a good chance, because my gits are still pretty stabby at that stage. They were still buffed up. So I would have killed a load of models. I would have been able to pile models back into that area. And he might also have had to, in order to get enough models onto the area, might also have dragged in my Boingrot Bounders, which were also buffed up, but just sitting around like a bunch of twats. So if he had dragged those in, then they would have also done some damage. So I probably should have, it's a good instance of where you just play that turn out, really, because there's a good chance that he might not have actually had enough models on there to claim the objective. And then I still had a big unit of 60 stabbers just running around, because they had been ineffectual. He had played against them really well, tagging them with just 1 bone splitter model, like at maximum distance, 3 inch, but like just under 3 inches away. So the whole unit wasn't able to do anything against that unit. And then once they had died, they were sort of out on a limbo, but then they were ripe and ready just to be Hand of Gorked into his backfield, which the giant had opened up the hole for them. So if it had gone to the next turn, it probably would have then swung heavily my way, because he would have been down to just a few wizards and like a 10 and a 5 left of a couple of units. So I should have
played it through.
I think. I mean, there's a good chance he still would have won it, because that was a block of 30 bone splitters going in, but then they would have been too far away for Aspiring Presence and all of that. And as I'd shown already in the turn before, by wiping out, there were probably about 20 odd in that other block. I could have done some serious damage to them, and hope, there was a chance.
Yeah, okay.
I reckon if probably about a 50-50 chance that I still
actually won that game,
would have held that objective.
Okay. So that would have been interesting to play through. So lesson for everyone at home there: play the game through the whole way.
Well, yeah.
Were you tired, buddy?
Probably not
tired?
as.
Had you had a tough time? You look a bit sleepy.
Stop
You're
being
like,
so
I can't really be arsed.
No, I enjoyed the game, but I didn't look at it clearly, so I should have looked at it more. Yeah, should have just stood back and looked at it and thought it through to the end, instead of like, oh, that's a 6/6 and that's another 6/6. Oh, bugger! I wasn't expecting that. So yeah,
it can be like the emotional impact of those things can be quite big, right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I wasn't that upset about it. I wasn't. I was just playing them to learn the army, really. So I wasn't upset to have lost or anything, or the 6/6s. But I was probably more upset about the Boingrots rolling the 1/1 the turn before.
That was more stressful.
Yeah, that was like, you little bastards. So
not like you, Nathan, to give up. That's very uncharacteristic of you.
Yeah. So there you go.
Yeah. Okay. Oh well, it sounds like a good game. I tell you what, I'm happy I didn't get Cunning Rook because that's a toughie to play realistically. And Byron, congratulations, ended up winning Best Destruction.
Yeah,
Oh, nice.
yeah. I think I'm not sure how they did the best in
Faction.
faction.
Yeah, there's some sort of system.
Yeah, when you look at the table, he was about the third destruction player down, but yeah, I think it might have been just based on
some stuff,
victory points or something. Or
the Rubicon on how you decide who the winner at that is. More on that later.
Yeah, he was definitely. I think he ended up on 4-1, and he was definitely in the top 20. I reckon something like that. So,
okay. Right. So my next game, I got to play one of the Detroit boys. Detroit boys. So I got to play Sean, so at Newt Doctor on Twitter, and he was running Gristle Gore Flesh Eater Court. So my second Flesh Eater Courts in a row. So this is the map for you guys. You guys should be able to see it on the screen. Nathan, there you go. You can see it, buddy. Right.
So pretty.
So pretty. Yeah. So especially if you're German. So what was really interesting, as we talked about, is knife to the heart. So there's an objective here and an objective here, and if you don't know how that works, again, if you listen to the podcast, there are some pictures that we're talking about now. But top left-hand corner, bottom right-hand corner is what we're talking about. And as we started to deploy, it became clear that Sean intended to go first. Sorry. He intended to give me the first turn. Because he was clearly just set up. He's like, right, I'm out of range of all your shooters. I'm going to give you the first turn and then
play for the double
and win the game. Because that's just basically how it works. Because I don't think I could handle one round of combat from 2 Ghoul Kings on Terrorgeist. Because really, that's 4 of them attacking me in a single round of combat.
Yeah.
So I couldn't handle 4 of them, let alone 8 of them or whatever the fuck it would be. So it'd be like, if he got the double, it would be 3,200 points of combat versus my 2,000 point army, which is probably a little bit too much, realistically, I won't lie. However, he gave me the first turn, and then everything went really well, because my very last deployment, as you can see here, I deployed quite deep. My very last deployment right here, which isn't on the picture, was the Mask of Sinesh, right at the front. He gave me the first turn, and she ran to here, like a little princess, and they made this dragon and this dragon half movement, so now they're movement 7. But before I did that, as you can see, I cast the Warp Lightning Vortex, which is cool. I then also deployed the Soul Snare Shackles, and I also got off Geminids here. So the whole purpose of where I place the spells, because this is what gets really exciting with endless spells, in my opinion, is that they don't have to be like instantly impactful. Nathan does this really well, and we should do some videos on this with the pendulum.
Yeah.
That terrifies me, because you set it up in a way that you're like, this is going to come into effect in turn 3, and I'm like, oh fuck, don't make me think. Whereas what I wanted to do here with the shackles predominantly, and with the Geminids, is I wanted to stop this dragon and this dragon from charging around here. That's effectively what I wanted to do. Now, in his first... So then it came to his first turn, and then I did some... I basically didn't do much. I moved the Kadai that you can see here over to here. Long story short. Then the priority roll happened. So this is basically how the game... in his first turn, he moved left. By the way, Sean's an angel. We had a great time. He took this dragon, he moved a little bit this way. He took this dragon, he moved a little bit that way. Did not charge the Mask of Sinesh, which was a mistake. Which he talked about after. He was like, I should have just charged the Mask. I was like, yeah, you should have just charged the Mask. Decided to try and shoot her. He then did some summoning and then came down here. I took this unit earlier on and put it up the top. And what he decided to do, which I find quite interesting, was I won the priority roll, so I gave him the turn. Because... did I give him the turn? Did I take the turn? No, I gave him the turn, right? Which meant he then just did a little bit more moving and a little bit more moving, and then these guys didn't do much. He did some summoning over here, which he tried to attack with. My Kadai, in my turn, went over and ate them. So my Kadai ended up, I might be able to do a picture here, and then the dragon on the right-hand side, and this dragon came here. They just wanted to get away from the vortex.
Yeah.
And that's all I did. So by the end of turn 2, so priority roll for turn 2, I'll try and get a picture. What do you think of my game so far? That's my question.
Yeah, it looks like you're in control.
Yeah, that's important, right? Because I can't handle the fighting, and it's already the turn 2. Let me just get the picture, and there we go. And this is what it looked like on turn 3, right? So beginning turn 3. So the Ghoul King had come over here. This Ghoul King is still there. If you remember, it only started there, so it hasn't gone very far for the whole game. So I win the priority roll for turn 3. He's done all of his summoning. Both of the Terrorgeists are a little bit wounded, but not particularly. And so I had the choice. I either take all of my army and just go back onto my objective and then just get the minor victory, because I've already killed, eventually I've killed these flares at the top. I also killed the Vargeist and 20 ghouls down here. So I think I'm up on victory points. The most I've lost, going to have lost is 10 Fireglaves. So I've given away 180 points, and I think I've got more. So then priority roll comes, and I was like, okay, turn 3. What do I want to do? And I was like, well, I'm just going to go for the major victory. And this is where it worked out. So what happened is I took the Kadai and I went over onto the left-hand side. So I took the turn, effectively. I took the Kadai, went onto the left-hand side, the Corruptor and my boss went over to make sure they're immune to battle shock. And then I cleared that unit at the top. And then all my dwarfs just sat around the objective like, if you come for me, we will shoot you, sir. That was the plan. And he was still Soul Snare shackled. He hadn't got out Soul Snare shackle range yet, still, by turn 4. So I went over on the left-hand side thinking, right, so the Gristlegore General is going to come in. He's -1 to hit. Okay, that's the best I can do. He's going to attack me. He's going to attack me again. I'm going to have 5 or 6 Kadai left. I'm going to attack him back. He's taken 7 wounds, so I've only got to do 7 more wounds and kill him with 7 Kadai, which is a lot of attacks. That's 35 attacks. And then I kill him, and then I just go beat the ghouls up, and I win the game. Pretty good. And if he doesn't, and if he decides to go for the double, if he, in his turn he decides to go there, then he goes there, attacks them, and then I go there and attack them, and it's still a draw.
Yeah.
And then he came over and he just did 48 damage and killed all the Kadai. Which was still game.
Yeah.
Nathan, you're swallowing the mic with your nose.
Am I?
So sorry, everyone. So sorry, everyone. So that's how the game played out. Now, Sean was like an absolute treasure to play. Yeah, and I really liked it. But I wanted to show you the pictures, because what I wanted to do was I wanted to show you that I felt like I was in solid command of the game. I'd killed all of his stuff, that was threatening the objective sort of thing, and he just had the dragons, and the dragons were completely out of position. And then when I did eventually go for the kind of win on the far hand side, the dragon just came over and defended, and I made the dragon -1 to hit. Now, apart from that, I literally don't know how to play that game better. I walked away from that game genuinely a little bit upset, because Sean was, number one, Sean was great as an opponent. He was friendly, he was fun. There was a moment where Geminids, I was like, he was like, Geminids is in range of the Mask of Slanesh. And I was like, it wasn't meant to be, but that's fine. And then instead of moving it over, he moved it somewhere else. So he's like a real good guy to play Warhammer against. And like I said to him, and he's smart as well. We played some really good games, and I was really lucky to get off Ashstorm, which meant his unit couldn't run. Not Ashstorm, sorry, the Vortex. So he was real good. But I didn't think I could have played that game better, and I think I played really well. It's down to him whether or not I outplayed him. I don't think that's the case, but I think I played well, and I was in a commanding position. And then there's literally fuck all I can do. He just takes a dragon, moves it, and wins the game. It's not that he's not got any skill, but it requires no skill to do that action. He's just I run, I charge, and I just wipe out this unit. I don't know, and it's move 14 as well, with a run and charge, which at the command point, it's 20 inches with a re-rollable charge. What am I meant to do in that game? Or what am I meant to do in Warhammer if someone can just do something so abusively easy? And that's why I wanted to show people on the with the pictures how I felt like I'd done a good job, but and I don't have any answer to it, realistically. I think the only answer to the Flesh Eater Corpse problem is I just take so much shooting, and then I just shoot them to death.
Yeah.
But then I'm just not engaging with you. It's not like a little back and forth. I'm just shoot you to death. End of game. So, you see what I mean? And I walked away from that, genuinely, for the first time in Age of Sigmar, like disappointed. Again, wonderful person, and I play Warhammer against him all day. Like, really enjoyed my game, but I just felt disappointed because there was nothing tactically.
You don't feel like there's anything else you could have done,
unless someone can like, and if anyone's out there watching it, if someone could watch it back and be like, oh yeah, actually I think you could have done this and that, but I honestly didn't know what I think I could do to make that game any different.
Yeah.
The only thing I think I could have done is maybe run the dwarfs off the objective in the middle to maybe hopefully get the double and then shoot him a bit. But he's got 20 ghouls and a command point because he can just, not even a command point, sorry. He's just got an Art Regent sat on a throne and at any point can just summon 20 ghouls for free and then just go on.
That's a bit weird to do if you're in a commanding position, I'd say.
What run for the double?
Yeah. If you're in a good position, why waste that?
Yeah, I agree. Well, so John, what do you think? Like, and I walked away from that. He was a lovely guy. Like I say, the game was great. I just walked away. I was like, fuck.
So you just didn't anticipate the output that they could put into the Gadai, really?
Well, I did. Like, I made him -1 to hit. Yeah. Like, it's not even like the output is. So I made him -1 to hit. Like, the only other way I could have is maybe got Geminids on him and make him another minus to hit. But that requires me getting 2 spells off.
Yeah.
Him being within range as well. Like.
Him being within range.
Yeah, it looks like he was quite far away.
Yeah, so it was really tough to do anything else to him.
Yeah.
To shut him down. I couldn't lock him up anymore. I locked him up for 3 turns, which I think is pretty good. And it's not that I didn't predict his output, because when we get to the end of this, we're going to talk about Inspiring Presence, because basically that's my tactic. What I do is I take 12 Kadai, I run them forward, I get the charge off and I attack you, you attack me back, and then if you don't do much, then I'm not taking a battle shock and I'm fine. But the next round, you'll pile everything into them, and they have so many wounds, I just go, Inspiring Presence, and they're still there, and you're still locked in fucking combat, and I'm still fighting you, which is awesome. Like, I love that. That's my tactic. We're going to talk about that at the end. But
some things will just kill them outright.
Which is 48 wounds with a 5-up save that's ethereal, and I had Mystic Shield on him, so I was rerolling once. And he didn't even roll that well.
Well, just some things will rinse through that, even if
they
are. But not very many. There's not.
I don't know. I don't even think the Corn Dragon for 5,000 points should do that, really. I don't know. I think because there's some problems with the dragon. The first one, that's becoming a big thing. That's becoming like an ability that.
Well, I also couldn't charge him.
Double attack thing that they do. That's
and also that it doesn't really degrade. It doesn't become any worse at any point.
Oh, so he's -1 to hit, and he's taken 7 wounds.
Yeah.
So he's half dead.
Yeah, and he still kills.
He's still killed.
Yeah, and I mean, in that scenario, there must have been some lucky dice from his side to make that happen. Because I mean.
Well, so what happens is when he does the mortal wounds on 6s to hit with the maw, that does mortal wounds and an additional hit, which he then rerolls. Yeah. Then he rolls to wound, and then each one of those does d6 damage.
Yeah,
but it's -2 rend as well. I mean, I ignore rend, and maybe I didn't make any saves, but on those additional d6, of which he got 4, because he can attack twice, he rolled 18 damage. So it was like 12 mortal wounds, 18 damage. So just the maw alone did 24, 30, did 40 of the damage.
Yeah.
Just the maw. And I don't really know how to stop that. And I know how to stop it. I build a different army. I build a Skaven army that just shoots them to death. And then I build a Skaven army that plays against other Skaven armies, and that's where I'm at in the list building phase. But for the first time in Age of Sigmar, I've never had anything do the output that's made me go, fuck, that was rubbish. And maybe it's because my army doesn't have Always Strikes Last with Itchy Nuisance from Gloomspite. It doesn't have. I don't have stuff that's got Always Strikes First, so I could counteract that. So yeah. Anyway, that was my game. I mean, sorry to be a bummer about it, but that's the case. He was a great guy, and I enjoyed the game tactically. I just then didn't. I mean, obviously, I didn't enjoy the result. I lost, right? But that's not the point.
I mean, Always Strike First is one thing. But the issue is you have to kill it when you go in, or otherwise that unit will be wiped. And it doesn't matter like what you put in there; it will wipe it no matter what you put in there.
Yeah.
So it's I just think the damage output is way too high. I don't mind the Always Strike First. I think that's quite interesting. but the damage output is you should be able to stay around in combat with 12 Kadai or a similar anvil. It shouldn't just go through it.
Yeah. Yeah. 48 wounds is a decent block.
Yeah.
To have none left at the end of like one engagement, like just done from alive to dead. So yeah. Anyway, lovely fella and a great game, and it just showed that I think both games I showed that I had a chance to win the game and play the game and do the trades that I thought were good. That's why I wanted to show them as pictures. But at no point did like, and maybe it's my fault. Maybe I should just go, okay, I can never fight the Ghoul Kings on Terrorgeist. Maybe I shouldn't have a fighting unit. Like, but that's a terrible place for the game to be, because what do I do if I'm Khorne? Or what do I do if what do I do if I'm Iron Jaws? Really hope you get Foot of Gork. Like,
well,
like, what the fuck do I do?
What do you do in any game if you're Iron Jaws?
Well, yeah, I mean, there's that too. There's that too.
Because I keep bringing up how I think stacking abilities is so bad, and then some Iron Jaw player tends to, well, that's the only thing I have, and I'm like, it's not doing you any good at all. Like, it's not helping you.
But anyway, yeah. So those are my games. And if someone's out there and is a more of a tactical genius than I and wants to look at those pictures and send me some thoughts, like, and if you do, like, not prove me wrong, but like come up with some valiant reasonings, then I'll 100% like give you a shout out on the show, and like I'll talk it through and just say, yeah, actually I'm being a baby, that's fine. And I'm not being a baby about it. Like, I'm not asking please nerf it. I'm saying give me a way to deal with it. And I think I've got a fairly competent grasp of Age of Sigmar. That's pretty much what I do all day, every day. Apart from taking Skaven shooting, or there were quite a lot of long strike Raptor lists from Stormcast at Adepticon. Yeah. They'd have done a great job against the Flesh Eater course. And I think one of them went 5-0, so that would have been a decent job. And maybe some Tzeentch mortal range, mortal wound spellcasting could do it.
Yeah.
But yeah. And then Mr. Mephisto has some tactical tips for me. Roll better.
Yeah, he could have rolled better. And if he had rolled worse, then you would have been.
I mean, if he'd have rolled worse, that would have been good.
Although, do you not think maybe you could have tried to get one of your dwarf units up to support the Kadai?
No, because I'm movement 4, and those guys would run and charge with a 6 every turn.
Yeah, but if he's then into the Kadai, then you've moved up so that
you're right.
He's in range.
I've already committed a 480-point unit, 100-point wizard. Yeah. I should also additionally add 300 points of shooters.
Yeah.
The issue is the other Ghoul King on Terrorgeist, who's at the top of the board.
Yeah, top right. So if you snaked around to the left.
Yeah, maybe had I gone there, but then
so
I couldn't have gone there.
With the Kadai?
Yeah, I couldn't have gone there on turn 2. Well, I went far with the Kadai because even if he went over there and I lost the trade, he couldn't come and get the major in the center.
Yeah.
All right. I mean, I could have gone up in the center line, but the ghouls would have killed the Kadai because they've got like 300 attacks each, right?
Yeah, because I mean that's the only. So if you got a unit that you can't fight in combat, then. Then you've just got to make sure that your guns can get them ready. That's the only way.
Yeah. And I tried that, but then you can't leave the back objective either, because of that particular scenario, and also because at any point in the game they can summon 20 models for free.
Yeah.
And they've just got that, so they already start with like a 2,500 point army versus your 2,000 point army. Anyway, that was my game, but a lovely fella. I had a great game with him. Real fair, like really good, like just like again.
Mr.
I wanted to.
Mephisto has the answer. Just play Flesh Eater Courts, then you'll be fine.
It's quite a cheap army to get into.
Yeah.
Is it Mr. Mephisto's birthday? Happy birthday, Mr. Mephisto. Anyway, what was your final game, Nath?
So last game was yes. How can I? Yes, so I got to play against the coach.
Oh, nice. AOS Coach. Another Gloomspike Git off.
So
what was it like playing a human koala?
It was fantastic. I'm pretty sure I got syphilis, but yeah, it was great.
Wow.
He's so Australian.
He is very
obviously.
Australian.
He's a very Australian dude, and he was over there, so it was great. Another Gloomspike gets off.
Because the last time we'd seen him
was in Canberra.
Was it yeah, he messaged me on Twitter yesterday. He was like, hopefully one day I'll see you in your country. Because we've only ever seen him not in our country.
Every single country in the world.
Yeah.
We'll see him. So it was, fantastic. So it was really good. We got to roll off to see who controlled the moon. So I managed to get hold of the moon.
Yes.
That
makes you the Loon King.
Yeah, he's got a Loon King. I've got a Loon King. But I've got all the magic. This time he's got a Mangler Squig War Boss dude, and he's got the Colossal Squig, and he's got the Troll Hag, so he's got all the monsters. So pretty scary in a fight. In fact, the first bit of combat, he managed to get the Troll Hag and the Colossal Squig into my big unit of stabbers, and absolutely decimated them. There were hardly any left.
Yeah.
So he was definitely winning that combat war. Although I started picking away, I eventually managed to get the Troll Hag down and rolled the 4 up to get half of my big unit of stabbers back.
Nice.
and we were playing the Greasy Goblin. And the Greasy Goblin just ran straight into my arms. So I just deposited those 40 gits that had climbed out of the shrine. They just went and sat with their mate. The old objective, the Greasy Goblin objective. And the only thing he had really threatening that was a unit of 20 little gits. Fucking Isle Guzzler Gargan went in there and destroyed them.
What, destroyed 20 gits?
Yeah. He put one in his pants. The only thing he put in his pants was a netter.
He wanted some underwear. That's what he wanted.
There you go. So he's got to sell some netted underwear. And then I think he killed 9 more gits. And so there were like just less than 10 left. Rolled the old 6 for the battle shock, and the rest ran away. So Gargant just wiped out 20 gits. It was great.
That is impressive.
Yeah.
Wow.
But the rest of the stuff was all tarpeted in the middle, fighting each other, and spells were going in and stuff like that. So I think my Boingrop Bounders had managed to get in, although they probably died eventually to the Loon Boss. The big squig ate the little squigs, but they did the damage. Just held everything up in the center whilst I was scoring in the corner with the little Greasy Goblin.
Oh, nice.
It's always good to take the little goblin into the corner and do a bit of scoring.
Yeah, always. Relocation Orb was the final scenario, right?
Yeah.
A very interesting scenario at that event. There was 180 players at the event. So yes, I played against Cody, a lovely fella. He had a death army. He pretty much was like, I'm going to win on the first turn. Super committed. That was his plan. Went in on the first turn. Then I got the double. So that was the end of the game.
Because you shot everything.
Yeah, because we were deployed so close to each other. Yeah, and I shot. He had Arcan. He died on the first turn.
Oh.
Yeah, he had a Coven Throne that died on the first turn. He had Grimghast Reapers, not Grimghast Reapers, sorry, Chaingrass Horde. They died. Skeleton Warriors, they died. And Necromancer, the Vortex obviously went off. Sorry, I forgot to mention that against Arcan. Yeah, I think I rolled a 12. So then he lost like both Necromancers. Everything took mortal wounds.
Didn't you see that you had guns?
Yeah, but guns are great against ghosts. So yeah, it was over pretty quick.
In range of guns.
But honestly, it's a dumb scenario. And he was a treasure to play. And he was like the last game. He was like clearly like, let's just finish. I was let's do that. So big kudos to that as well. Especially like
just bundled everybody in for a fight. Then.
Yeah, it was just like let's have a game. So that was cool. So I appreciate it, especially after both the two. I mean, all of the games I played up until that point were like pretty heavily like brain power orientated. That's a fucking terrible sentence. But it took a lot of like mental acuity to run those games. So that game was like a nice finish, just rolling dice at someone. But yeah, fun game. And what was really awesome is I had 5 great opponents. And I can't really ask for more. That was my first time gaming in America, and America showed me that they've got like great people to play Warhammer against. Because I'd also played like people like JT and Jeff and stuff. And the day before, I'd been playing with Tom at the team event, so I'd played nothing but great people all weekend. So I mean, you can't really ask for a better endorsement of an event.
Oh yeah. Like the people, folks
Or
were
of a
great. I
community.
mean, the doubles was fantastic. I like doubles as a
mechanic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just a really great way to have a good game and hang out with people and just.
Do you even remember the doubles?
Some of the doubles. No, I definitely, if you can ever get to a doubles event, I'd
Go to
thoroughly recommend it.
Agreed.
It's just, I don't know what you think about doubles, but I think they're just a great way to play the game.
I enjoy it. The only issue is like you feel a little bit rude turning your back on your opponent so that you can have your like whisper tactics chat, because you're kind of like
whisper tactics.
Yeah. You know when you're like, when you're like, okay, this is how it works. You're like, yeah, okay, Nathan, yeah, it's going to be good playing you, but just 1 minute, it's just should we just shoot him? Like, you get him there? Yeah, just what movement is your? That's what it's like, right? Which is fine.
No, it's not like that. We like tell each other straight up. You want to shoot that guy, or do you want me to shoot him? Yeah, okay. Shall we roll the dice? See what happens. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, doubles are it was a great event.
Yeah.
So overall, Adepticon, Nath. Let's talk about the pack very quickly.
Yeah.
And some interesting things, because I know that some of it not contentious, but let's just it's meant with love. Yeah. Constructive feedback, I would say. So you get the pack on the day. What do you think about that? And the pack was really well formatted, apart from one of the scenarios being wrong. But like that's an oversight that I would definitely make.
I mean, I'm less bothered about getting the pack on the day, because I think it forces you then to play a more all-round army, because you don't know what's coming.
Which is their purpose, right?
Yeah.
But then it had things like total commitment and also relocation orb, which is fine. But I feel like both of those, like total commitment, is when we did the show about scenarios, it's so impactful against things like Stormcast or anything that deep strikes that you almost kind of would like to know ahead of time. I would say, like if I was playing an army that like it doesn't.
You're aware that there's a chance that it's going to be there, because you're going to be playing one of the scenarios, unless they specifically say up front that we're not going to be playing.
Yeah, but it's one of 22.
Yeah. So 50-50 chance you're going to be playing it then.
It's not.
John, you either will or you won't.
Jonathan, you're a TO. What do you think about packs on the day?
I think, well, I think I need to have. Depends on what approach you want to have. Do you think that all match play tournaments should be for competitive games?
Me?
Yeah.
Not at all. In fact, almost the opposite. I think things like Adepticon should almost stray away from being competitive events when you start hitting numbers to that degree. Yeah. Everyone who I played was excellent at Warhammer, and everyone around me was excellent at Warhammer. Big shout out to Rodrigo going 4-1 with the Corn Dragon. What a star! And only losing his 5th game in a row. But I would say that the notion of competitive play beyond sports is odd to a degree. But it's not so. I'm not talking about competitive play. I'm talking about people having a good gaming experience. Yeah. Our example would be the relocation orb. Me and Nathan have live stream commentated on a game about that. Me and Dan did, where we talked about being okay, and you did the table coverage, and we talked about there was ways to win and ways not to win. But knowing that's going to be a scenario, I think you prep an army with like, okay, that's actually quite important. I need high mobility or a bunch of other stuff. Things like Better Part of Valor being in the pack are important. You'll be like, okay, well, I need to make sure that I cannot just get first turn lost. I mean, that's really important to achieve that as well. So there's like
so you just do all that prep knowing that you could possibly play those scenarios.
But it's impossible inside of a 2,000 point list to prep for all those
No, it's
scenarios.
not.
Yes, it is, and you know it is.
It's not.
It is impossible.
Take Gits.
It's
You'll be
well,
fine.
okay. It's impossible with some armies, right?
Yeah.
And you
But-
love Gits, which is great,
Yeah.
but some people
But
don't love
I'll
Gits.
take Dispossessed, and I'll take it if I don't know what the scenarios are, or even if I'm turning up to fight the Greasy Goblin, which I know is
Almost
nearly
an loss.
impossible
Yeah.
for the Dispossessed, because you always just take the army you want to take anyway.
Which is why I said that there's the differentiation.
And then if somebody's dead serious, they want to win, well, then they have to take an army that can play a wide spread, as many of the scenarios as they can.
Yeah, or you could just release a pack, and then
Yeah.
and then people like you can take Gits, and the people that want to be competitive can then have a better choice.
Tailor it, yeah, but that's a different skill set. You can either be somebody that can tailor it to a specific set of things, or you can try and tailor a list to perform as wide a variety of things as possible.
You can,
So-
but some armies don't have the option to do a wide variety of things. For instance, Ironjaws. For instance, Kharadron Overlords.
Yeah.
One can only shoot and one can only fight.
Yeah.
So
they won't be taking those then if they
no,
want
the
to
competitive
win.
players won't. But my point is, if I really like Kharadron Overlords
Yeah.
or I really like Ironjaws, I can't go to that event not knowing the pack and have a good opportunity to build a wide range of lists. Like, what I mean is I can't take
No,
Kharadron...
but you will never have that chance, even if they tell you what's coming. You'd
have a better chance.
You've been shoehorned already.
You have a better chance.
No, not necessarily.
I think the main reason you shouldn't announce the missions is so you won't hear LLV complain about total commitment and Starcast the Turtles.
Well,
You don't hear him bitching about it.
Until the last moment.
No, but essentially it's two different formats, right? And in those two different formats you will have two different metas.
Yeah,
you do.
So
I understand that I'm not discussing this for competitive players. That's not who I'm talking about it for. I'm talking about it for the people who have incredibly unengaging games. My example would be the Kharadron Overlord's army that has to play shifting objectives. Let's say not shifting objectives. Relocation orb. I mean, they've got some fast-ish moving units, but realistically, no. Things like that. We talked about, because you asked the question about should events be competitive, and I'm like, well, if you're releasing a pack intentionally so that people have to build all-round lists, you're not doing that with your selection of those missions, because both Better Part of Valor, Relocation Orb, and even Knife to the Heart, as an example, are missions that are almost unwinnable by certain armies, like, if they don't know ahead of time. Like, you have to prep for it, because some armies are movement 4.
So if I take Dispossessed, and then I see the pack is going to be including the Greasy Goblin, so then I can't change the build of my army to play the Greasy Goblin, can I?
No, well, I don't know Dispossessed as well as you know it, but you might at least be aware, or you might say to yourself, do you know what? I want to go for a weekend of fun gaming. Yeah, and because of the greasy, like you do one of two things. You either go, I'll accept it, and that's fine. But you're given the choice in that scenario. Yeah, I'll either accept it and it's fine, or I won't accept it, right? And I'll change my army. Now that's on you, but not being given the agency to make a choice.
All I think that if you have a set pack up front, then you're just narrowing the meta a bit. Whereas if you just leave it wide open, then you're more likely to get a more spread meta, that's all. Because people are then more likely just to take what they want, or they're going to try and just build armies that can do more things. So you're more likely to have a wider spread of meta. Whereas if you tell people this is what we're going to play, then everything's going to be more focused.
Yes,
So,
from the competitive players. But that's, again, that's why we started this conversation with me saying that I'm not talking for them, because they'll look after themselves. The people who I'm talking for are the people who are more like, I'd like to win some games, but this is the army I want to take. And I feel like that.
So, I mean, I'm not bothered. I'm not bothered either way. I'll attend either. because most of the time I don't read the pack anyway. And then,
no one ever does.
Yeah. So it doesn't really bother me. But to me, it's not a problem if the missions are announced or not announced, really.
Okay.
But I don't think if the missions are going to be announced on the day, I don't think that's a massive problem.
But do you think the TO should if they're going to announce them on the day, the TO should pick because we did the scenario like conversation, right? If the TO is going to pick it on the day, the TO should be like aware of the impact of picking polarizing missions.
Yeah, I mean exactly.
It's
exactly the same as picking it on the day. As if you're
picking it ahead of time.
The shit one ahead of time. It's still the shit mission, isn't it?
Well, the difference me, I would never take scenarios that potentially are very boring to play.
Yeah.
Like the Greased Up Goblin, like you burn first turn, I win. I would never put that in a scenario. I don't think. In a tournament, I don't think.
Well, yeah, better part of Valor and the Greasy Goblin are pretty. They're fun games, but they're pretty shit.
Yeah, but things like Knife to the Heart's tough as well, right? So is Escalation. That's kind of.
I like Knife to the Heart.
I like Knife to the Heart, and I like Escalation.
It's all fairly.
But I know I've been playing my army knowing that I might play scenarios like that. Yeah. Whereas if I was playing a tournament where there were more hero-based missions, like my current build only has two wizards, 2 heroes with 5 wounds apiece. If I was to read a pack and it was like, well, 2 of the missions require heroes, I'd be like, do you know what? I probably will change to something else, right? I'd think around the problem. Yeah. But if it got announced on the day, like I'm like, it's my own fault, or whatever it might be. And you're right, there's 2 strategies to go to it, but it's not the competitive players who I'm worried about. It's the other gamers. I want them, and something like Adepticon, where it was so heavily weighted towards sports and painting, in order for the overall champion. I would want it to be balanced in the gaming element as well. And I don't mean balance as in the term balance that we throw around sometimes. I just more mean thinking about the interactivity between 2 players. And we've talked about this before a little bit. Yeah.
There's just some shit.
It also gives people an opportunity to practice those missions, right?
Yeah,
practice.
I think that. I think that's because you as an adult in this hobby, it's not the money, it's the time, and to know what scenario is going to play. Absolutely, I prefer having pre-announced missions, but that wouldn't stop me going to one that isn't announced. And if it isn't announced, I would prefer if they have pre-picked them, going to one where they roll. Because now we're speaking both missions and we're speaking realmscapes, right?
Yeah.
Which both can have a huge impact on however a game is enjoyable or just tipped to the other side, it makes it a non-game.
Yeah.
I think TO will do themselves a favor if they actually sit down and try to make something that either counterplays the mission or mainly make stuff that won't fuck people over too much, really, without them being able to control it to some degree.
Yeah, I mean, that's a fair point, actually, is being able to practice the missions beforehand with the realms and everything.
Especially if you're new, or you're a hobby guy.
Well, yeah, because time is precious, really.
It's
and
true.
so if you've practiced...
That's why I enjoy spending so much of it with you, baby.
And then, but not only that, it also makes you... you'll be quicker in the games, and under tournament conditions... being able to finish the games timely is great. So.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
So I agree on that side, but I mean, I'm not that fussed either way.
Hey, Bruce Hammer, by the way. So knowing the mission for me are the benefit to the guy who wants to win. Fantastic. I don't think Knife to the Heart shows good players as such. It weeds out bad players, which I think it's fair. And then Mr. Mephisto says, I think the more information is generally preferable to less. People aren't often upset if you're upfront, but I still like the element of surprise and necessity to build a balanced list if you don't know exactly what you'll play months in advance, because that can favour people who can build entirely different armies at a whim versus poor bastards who just have the stuff, the range of, which I also agree with. And I don't disagree with your point. I do like the concept that it produces more balanced armies, but then what I would want in the pack when you do showcase that on the day is more balanced scenarios, right? Where there is a nice spread and a range, and I don't think relocation orb is one of those.
Yeah.
I think that's one of those like asterisks above it. You're like, you need to know this exists. You can almost guarantee there's going to be a knife to a heart, and there's going to be, or a taken a hold. There's going to be one of those, especially in a field so big. And I would argue maybe in a field so big you would have two, although thankfully the winner ended up not needing there to be two to differentiate out. It's just a conversation, and it's mainly for the new people, like, or the people who don't game as much as the gamers, because the gamers will sort themselves out. So I'm not looking for the best, because that's what you asked. I think Jonathan asked it. Should it be more competitive? I'm like, oh, you should actually tailor it to the slowest person, right?
Well, to the majority of the people that are there, and the majority of the people that are there aren't there to win it, and they're just there to have their hobby and enjoy, just have a good time.
I agree.
The competitive people will sort themselves out.
I agree.
You don't need to do that.
which is why I think you could actually announce them ahead of time. Yeah, then the competitive people will be there and doing their thing, and that's cool. But then the other guys get time to practice, and they also get to go, do you know what? I would love to take this army, but I know for a fact I can't win that mission with this army. So I'll either change my army in some way, which gives me an opportunity to paint up like a different character or something cool, or I'll just change my army. And those are the people who I'm just talking about, because I think they deserve, like, because that's what I meant about that weekend. The hobby was great. There was loads of amazing looking armies, and there were loads of cool like missions, and people having fun. I didn't see anyone like have bad experiences personally on the tabletop, so everyone seemed to be having a good time. Apart from one person who I saw get all Gorgrunters surrounded all of his ghosts on the first turn. It was just like over. It's like, oh, all my pigs. Yeah.
Army. Yeah. Oh, we were laying the smackdown on the Angels. There's a Gorgrunt army that went 4-1.
It was. So, wasn't that played by
Scooter? Yeah.
Yeah, Scooter. So big shout out to him. Anyway, so pack released on the day. We've covered that. Tables were fine. Terrain was fine. The lit between the tables was incredible. The scenery was like meh. Like there's no line outside blocking. That's a 40k thing that I talk about a lot. Sometimes when I do the AOS show, it's not really impactful that much currently, but in the future will be. It'd be nice to be able to hide one little character, right? Or something, especially from Skaven shooting. Round times were a little bit longer than usual, which was nice.
Yeah.
Environment was lovely. Food was fine. Drinks were fine. Probably the best venue I've ever played Warhammer in, ever. Because it's just carpeted and...
Carpeted?
Yeah, it was carpeted.
That's an important
Fucking
thing to some
hate
people.
Carpet.
Yeah.
It's disgusting.
Yeah, it was nice, though. Like, it was nice. It wasn't very loud. That was cool.
That's nice. That's nice.
Well, one thing that irked me a tad is we were admonished on the Sunday morning for the people who didn't turn up on time. So everyone who was there on time on Sunday morning got a bit of a lecture about the fact that some people hadn't turned up and therefore weren't going to be allowed to play for the day, which is fine. But I was already there, so I didn't need a lecture. Also, I'm a grown man, so I don't really need a lecture.
Yeah, it was quite odd. It was quite odd how many people dropped out during the course of the
30 people.
What?
It was more than 30. I think it was like 40.
Yeah. Yeah,
well, I guess
no,
it's like
30.
conventions so people slip away to other stuff, I guess.
Yeah.
I think so. It was 33 drops was the total, because we did that on the stat show last week, and that's because maybe they hadn't made it on time, or whatever it might be. But that wasn't for me the most fun environment to play Warhammer in, with a lecture at the start of the day. Like I was in a school hall. I didn't enjoy that. And I don't think it made the crowd, as in the group of people who were playing, being it like, it wasn't like a let's all go have fun, guys. It was like some people are dicks. You're like, cool, this is my hobby to escape the shitty things in the world. So yeah, I wasn't a fan of that, and I know that that's not like the nicest thing to say, but it needs to be said because it's just how I honestly felt, right? But apart from that, like everything was good. I've got to say, big shout out to everyone who assisted with running the event. They were all really friendly and nice.
There were loads there.
There were loads
score sheets and
doing all the hard work. Yeah. So what do you? So yeah, Jay took. I think that might be JT in the chat saying, "Oh yes." Also, we got told there was also lectures about having to put our rubbish in the bin, which is fine, but the bins were not readily accessible. In fact, the bins were a hearty walk away, I would describe as, and not very plentiful. And so while I absolutely believe in some semblance of putting trash in the bin. Not necessarily recycling, Nath. Before you bring that up, you dick. I would say, they were miles away. So being told that if we didn't put our trash in the bin, the event wouldn't carry on was a bit much. There are two ways to fuck a chicken, right? You can woo it or you can force it, right?
Throw stones at it.
There's someone there just nodding off as they're painting, going, "Did he just say fuck a chicken?" But yeah, also have more trash cans / that's the Americans in the chat, or bins we call them, or Brexit. All of it's rubbish. So that's anything you got to add about the event?
No, that was cool. Just thanks to everybody I interacted with. That was awesome.
Yeah.
And thanks to those people that contributed so that we could get over there, because that was a great experience, definitely.
Yeah, it was an amazing experience, and again, but I'd say that I actually loved all my games, so that was cool. But I would say the biggest takeaway had to be the people. Like, so many cool people to talk to. Just everyone was ace. You guys can watch a bunch of the interviews on YouTube if you're interested in. Like, meeting Rodrigo from Mexico was a bit of a highlight for me with his corn dragon, like such a babe. But then getting to talk to Sam before he won the event was like just hilarious. Like, we had that interaction again. Another video you can watch on YouTube. I got to see Oscar Lars. He gave me a t-shirt. It was cool. I was wearing an apron for an entire day. I never thought an apron would be like a piece of attire that I would want to adorn, but now it's all I want to wear. Like, the Team America guys were amazing. Like JT Jeff, just so many people I interacted with. Santastic's hilarious. I did an interview on his podcast the other day. If you guys get the opportunity to, so that's the Ever Chosen podcast. If you guys are interested to listen to that, but yeah, it was good, and it was won by Seraphon.
Yeah,
that was didn't see that one coming. I didn't see that one coming.
You didn't like it?
I liked it a lot.
Yeah.
I always like when odd stuff happens. That's great.
Did you watch the game?
Gives me hope.
Warhammer Weekly Tom is in the chat. My doubles partner and an angel. He said I look great in that apron. I did look good in that apron. I'm going to wear that to the next event. Just an apron. Also, by the way, do you guys ever, like, when you get to the tabletop, you think, right, okay. So, great thing about Adepticon was the tables, and there was the little lip in front of you and also to the side, so you could put dice not on the table on the gameplay. Nice. Yeah, it was awesome. And there was tape measures you could have at the side, or like the whole thing. But when I play Warhammer World, which is not local, like, it's just you're flat on the table. There's no spare space. And I tell you what, I've always thought about a bump bag, or like maybe one of those jackets with all the pockets. But an apron with some pockets in is pretty sweet. Because number one, it stops anything you're wearing from like bumping the table as you lean over. Mm-hmm. Useful. Number two, it stops flock from getting on your clothes.
Cool.
That's useful. But most importantly, it's got some little pockets so you can keep a tape measure in and some dice. Yeah. So if anyone's interested in a branded Warhammer Weekly apron, then please go onto their web store. If they have one, I don't know.
You can buy those.
Yeah, I think you can buy those.
I need to buy one. Then I don't have to run away from the girls all the time.
Well, I'm going to speak to Vince because I would like to do some Honest Wargamer version ones as well, but I feel like it's their thing, so I don't want to do it because it would be
stand on their toes.
Yeah, I don't want to stand on their toes. I mean, we could do hot pants and bum bags, or fanny packs as they call them in America, but I don't know. It's not as sexy.
Maybe a kilt. I think Nathan can help us out.
With a sporran? Papin's asking in the chat, has been on the radar. Has the new competitive corn list been revealed? I don't think so, not at the minute. Jay Tuck, the apron is so functional. I think we're getting Cobra Kai ones made up. Yeah, Cobra Kai, never die.
Sweep the leg.
Sweep the leg all the time.
Bobby Brown.
Two King Tristan wants a fanny pack. So Honest Wargamer fanny packs. We still need to decide on what merch we're exactly going to do. But the apron's pretty good. You have permission to make the aprons. That's nice. Okay. Is there any other takeaways you had from the weekend, Nath?
No, I just think I was really, like I said before, the Gets list was great fun to run. I learned loads playing it, and
more play in the future.
I definitely think they're pretty sweet. I think they've got some good stuff in them. I mean, I played 4 out of 5 games are all destruction. So, so I don't know if that's probably a good litmus test, but definitely felt like I was in all the games.
Oh yeah, you did play 4 games out.
Even the game against Zinch, I think if we'd gone on a bit longer, depending on how much summoning happened, I think I probably was heading for a stronger end game. So yeah.
Okay. So my takeaway is something that both you two as Gits players and also everyone in the chat can get along. So one of the things I wanted to talk about was a tactic that I used all weekend and have consistently done with my Kadai. And I find quite interesting, especially like with playing against Fleshita Courts with I use all my command points, or Bone Splitters, I use all my command points to do my shooting. Fleshita Courts, I use all my command points to do my summoning, and then I'm out. Yeah, or like my fight twice, and then I'm out. So one of the things I was finding super useful was to follow around my combat block with my hero and then make them immune to battle shock. Because I don't have any command abilities in my army, and I don't have anything useful to spend them on. Now, I know obviously in a Gits army, you've got nothing but command points going spare, right? And you've got quite a few heroes. So it's just something you guys can probably follow up with as well, and you probably do the same. But I just thought it was such a basic tactic that some people don't really maybe even think about using it. So what I would do is I would take my 12 Kadai and I would send them into something, and then knowing that they would get punched back and potentially have another turn of being punched back, or I would put them out as a big screen, and then I would let my opponent hit them, knowing that was going to make them immune to battle shock, so that my shooters could shoot over the top, right? And that would be consistently be my battle plan all the time, and that's how I would work. So that's what I would spend my command point on all the time. Now, do you guys do the same thing? And I was just wondering, like, because I find it super useful, and it's just something for people out there to think about as a tactic. Do you guys do the same?
Yeah, definitely. With your hordes, when you send them out, you've got to make sure you've got a hero or two tagging along, so you can keep them immune to battle shock. I mean, when you deploy, it's less of a problem for us, because obviously we deploy around the Loon Shrine.
Gross privilege.
Yeah. Crop privilege. But so yeah, although that does force you to deploy in a blob, but it's 12-inch away from it's quite big, and the Loon Shrine's got quite a big footprint, so you do actually cover quite a big area.
I've come to realize that the moon, I don't rate the moon that much. In fact, I think the moon is kind of lackluster as an allegiance ability. The Loon Shrine is great because of that 12-inch immune to battle shock bubble at the beginning. But the real allegiance ability of the Gloomspite, in my opinion, is the amount of command points that you have available to you. And the freedom you get when you have those command points it's so huge. To know that I'm going to have those 6-run rolls all the time. I'm going to have those immune to battle shock wherever I am, as long as I can keep my heroes safe, right? And it is a big one. It is a really big one. And with the Moon Clan, as I said before, I mean, we are immune to during the first term when we just deployed. And after that, it's quite easy to conga line a few growths back. It doesn't matter really if you lose them. But the immune to battle shock is great. Even though sometimes you kind of want the unit to die to be able to have a chance to recycle it. Because
but then that's where you get the opportunity to choose, right? Like if you move beyond your Loon Shrine, for your guys' example, I was thinking it was interesting with you guys because you guys have got hordes and you've got command points to spare. I know some people because what's really interesting as well is when people use command points for things like reroll ones to hit or reroll wounds. Because some people don't have command abilities as good as necessarily the new books, so it's something worth thinking about as a strategy. Like, if you got a big block in like whatever army build that you maybe have, like think about losing half. Can half of them still do the punch? You won't lose half against a Ghoul King or Terrorgeist by weather. You'll lose them all. But ignoring that, will you lose half and can you keep half? And because I was basically using an army at Adepticon that would shut your movement down. It would like half your movement, or it meant you can't run and fly. So that was what my army was doing. And I was finding another way to do that was to have 35 glaives, charge, you kill 28 of them, and then I just spend 1 command point and I keep 2 in combat with you, which means when you win the priority roll next, that was when it was really important, you're locked in combat.
Yeah.
And now I've controlled your movement in a turn. So it's capacity to do that. And it seems so simple, but I just wanted to bring it up because it was so impactful in my games. I just wanted people to remember, take your heroes, run them up with your block, or use it as a strategy. I don't know what you'd really call it as a strategy, but I don't know, the brave strategy. But and I know you probably already do it already, but some people don't really think about it.
So it's easier with like Jonathan said, it's actually easier with the grots because you just leave tails back to make sure that they're within range, because all of the inspiring presence isn't wholly within.
Yes.
So you've got fairly fragile heroes.
No, you don't. No, you do not. I just summon mortal wounds to your fucking
everything is fairly fragile. Everything is fairly fragile. It's a scale, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I had a fungoid cave shaman that.
So the best trick, Nathan.
20 shots from some fire glaives and was still alive. Oh, it was fantastic.
The Moon Clan summoning, like going into the games or first game, was like, okay, this summoning is great. It's weaker than other summoning because it happens at the end of the turn.
Yeah.
But now when I played a few games, like when I roll at 4 up, it's so stupid good. Because it's like, okay, a Gold King of Terror guy charges me, kills my grots. Okay, good. In my turn, I recycle them 12 inches from the loot shrine, which is quite far, right?
Yeah.
Like, okay, fuck you, I'm going the other way. Thanks for the movement. Thanks for the 12-inch movement, man.
And up to 3 inches away from enemy as well. It's just
it's so liberating.
Yeah.
Like when
liberating.
At the end of it,
I feel so free. I just want to dance.
Yeah, but it's on the 4 up, so it's like those rolls. It's if you get them, the game becomes way easier. It's to the point where I'm like, how can death players actually lose games? It's like when you can recycle units, how the fuck do you lose games?
Yeah.
It's so stupid, silly good.
Bless them. That's why they play death, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. It's really good. It's a really strong thing, right?
Yeah,
good. All right. Well, I just thought. Go on.
Now, about the 3-inch one, that I mean, you score it within 6 inches, right? So you can fit quite a lot of grots within 3 inches of the objective, or away from the enemy.
Yeah.
it's stupid good. It's really good.
Agreed. All right. So I think that's everything, right? That's the wrap up for the show today. If that's okay with you guys.
I have one thing to announce.
Go for it.
My grots won a painting award.
Congratulations.
Got a fucking trophy. Yes.
Congratulations.
Now I can go on and do concept armies for the rest of my day.
That's all I'm ever going to do.
Cool.
I want to do a
Nice,
Seraphon. I want to do a Seraphon concept
both.
army. John, it's been great having you on the show. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
Nathan,
It was great listening to your Adepticon adventures.
Oh, thank you. Nathan, it's great having you on the show.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
You're an angel. Jet, great having you on the show. Yeah, good. If you listen to the podcast back, I just want to say a massive thank you. Obviously, a big one today, so we hugely appreciate that. I want to say thank you to everyone who we saw at Adepticon and just who we see all the time and support the show, whether that be through Patreon or whether that be through Twitch or whether that just be through donations or whatever it is. You guys are awesome. Even if it's just liking or subscribing, it makes a big deal. So thanks so much. I've got some cool stuff coming in the future, which is fun, but I can't tell you about that now. You have to wait for the announcements for that. Just live with it. Thank you to everyone on Twitch in the chat. So, the Templar, Oscar Lyles, LLV, Val Turnip, Honest Wargamer, Toon King Christian, just all of our guys generally who are in the chat. Slantastic. You guys are wicked. Join us again next week for just more AOS coverage. Don't forget the AOS Stat Show.
Yeah.
It's also cool. And just generally, thanks. You guys are awesome. And we're all big One Honest Wargamer family, so it's like nice being out there that we're all in the crew. So thanks very much.
Thank you.
So that's the end of the podcast. Now Twitch dudes. I'll stop that now. That's out. Twitch dudes. Let's go raid someone. You ready? So if you want to use your jet emoji, so if you subscribed, let me just do this. So you have to press raid, and then you have to do / and the name. So we're going to go raid someone else's channel. if you guys are interested, there should be. Oh, fucked it up, haven't I? I don't remember how to do it, but shit. Is it /raid? Come on, we got it, boys. 1/. Oh, there we go. I almost did it. There we go. Fuck, Nathan, I'm like you. I'm a technology nerd. I don't know how to do it. /raid.
This is how he lives his life, Rob.
Just
everyday struggles.
There we go. So we're raided. Thanks very much. Someone did it. Scrivo did it for me. So too many buttons. Yeah. So if you want to drop some jet emojis in there, it's a wonderful lady who does painting. We saw her at Adepticon. Again, thank you to everyone on Twitch. You guys are the badasses. We'll see you guys soon. And let's go. Here we go. And we are raiding. I don't know how you do it. I think we're there. Are we there?
I don't think we're there. Are we there yet?
Are we there yet? I don't think we've gone there. Oh, we're in. No. Let's go. We're raiding. Let's go see what she sounds like. Okay. But we stopped the stream.